We are tonight's entertainment.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Excellent!
Hello everyone, welcome to the Movie Mania podcast where we talk films past, present, and future. I am Sherman Trey White of Podcast Media, and joining me is the man, the myth, the legend, just Trilbee, nope, Bandit, yep, nope, no Bandit, nope, just Trilbee once more, Trilbee / Mr. Titus.
Hello everyone, hello, happy Monday the 13th. That's a significant day, is it?
Is it?
I don't know.
Tomorrow's my sister's birthday, so I mean that makes
happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Is that still copyrighted?
Oh damn it! YouTube copyright strike me.
What a riveting start to this podcast.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm about halfway through the largest mug that I've ever drinking from, full of coffee. So hopefully it will kick in over the course of the episode. I look forward to it happening because the rush is going to be immense.
It's gonna be awesome. Okay, yeah. How you doing, Trilbee? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. Yeah, a bit tired because you've just caught me at the end of a long Monday. So, but we'll power through it together with the power of good, enjoyable films. We'll make it.
Yes, and as always, ladies and gentlemen, we're here recording, and if you look on the Skype here on my computer, which you can't see, but I'm looking at it, it says that Bandit Incorporated is online, but someone's not answering our calls. He's either too tired, sleep, taking a dump, or he's too chicken to answer. Oh, hit my pop filter, because he's afraid we're going to crap at him for not liking Logan.
Or a combination of all of them.
Yes.
all of the above.
So in 15 minutes into this podcast and Bandit still has not shown up, if you please would like to all tweet at him when you guys finally hear this, and tweet at him hashtag where's Bandit. It'd be wonderful just to get him out of bed.
Yep. It will probably be useless by the time you listen to this episode. He'll probably have woken up several times by then, but you know, it's the thought that counts. It's just letting him know that he's missed.
It'll be the hashtag we love Bam of Bandit. That way, he'll be so irritated. Like, fine, he'll finally respond, or he'll be like, Bam, I won't respond at all.
Nah.
I've been doing fine though, Trilbee.
Oh,
I'm not at 3 a.m. Trey. I just feel really calm and relaxed. I'm on spring break, so I can just kind of be chill.
Spring break forever.
Look at my shit. That's a good movie, Spring Breakers. I don't know if you guys have seen Spring Breakers.
It is, isn't it?
It's a good movie. Yeah, it was a shockingly good movie. Kind of like one of our other movies we're going to be talking about today. Speaking of today, time code's listed below, by the way. We'll be talking some of the movies we've seen, and some of the movies we've recently signed.
I'm Wolverine, I'm his biggest fan.
Including Logan and Kong in both non-spoiler and spoilery details. What was I going to say? Oh, there's this YouTube channel that does animated trailer spoofs. And they did one for Logan, but like it's Logan walking around talking like actor Hugh Jackman, so he has a really like intense like Australian accent.
Okay.
And I don't know why, it's really funny, and I think it'd be funnier if Bandit was here. I don't know if Bogan is an Australian slur, but it's called, instead of Logan, they call it Bogan, and like he's walking around like constantly have a beer in his hand. You know, he's just taking a can of Foster's every now and then, and it's really funny.
Yeah.
I'll send you the link, Trilbee, after the show. It's
I need to check that out.
All right. Well, with that being said, and that random tangent being done with, shall we jump into the movie news?
Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. Cannonball!
Alright guys, this is the movie news portion of the show, in which case we talk about the movie news that's occurred over the last few weeks, I guess, since we recorded our wonderful Ice Cube podcast. It's actually gotten a lot of good reception. Thanks for that, guys. If only YouTube would let me monetize again.
Oh, what, have you gotten in trouble with the YouTube police?
No, something happened, and maybe it's because they redid the new algorithm or something, but like they won't let the money sit there in like a pool. I have to work with AdSense. It's really complicated, and they won't talk to me about it. But I also hit 900 subscribers, which is great. I'm almost at 1,000. Help me get to that push. I'm really excited. Okay, so the first bit of news here. Not Adam Driver.
What?
Edgar Wright, creator of Edgar. I don't know why I thought about Adam Driver. Edgar Wright, creator of such great films as the Cornetto trilogy, and and Scott Pilgrim, and his next. And almost Ant-Man, I guess. Has,
almost Ant-Man.
Almost Ant-Man. His new film Baby Driver, which is due out in August, has a new trailer that came out because I think they premiered it at South by Southwest.
Yes, it did.
Which I'm gonna call it South by from now on because that's way too long of a title. They premiered it at South by, which is in Austin, Texas, nearby my homeland. I've always wanted to go to that, by the way, but I've never gotten the chance. But they premiered it there, and I guess I heard it got good reception.
It's 100%
which I would imagine
on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
Yeah, and I would imagine that it got good reception. Does that mean the movie's complete then? Because I know sometimes they'll screen movies at South by and change certain things. Like I know they did that with Sausage Party last year. Yeah, they screened a rough cut of it there, and then they went around and changed some stuff towards the third act.
Well, I think because Sausage Party, what they showed was mostly animatics and storyboarding and stuff like that, because it was an animated film. Whereas Baby Driver, that finished principal photography like spring last year, like early summer. So it's I imagine it's been in the can for a while, because from what I'm hearing from the reviews and the reports about it is that there's very minimal CGI in the film, so I don't imagine the post-production work being as extensive as, say, something like Scott Pilgrim or something like Sausage Party.
It's the editing. The editing probably would took the longest, because Edgar Wright loves to do the hyper, zooms and cuts on his film. And talking about the trailer itself, the movie looks fantastic. The World's End is one of my favorite movies. That entire trilogy is so fun and quotable. We did a whole episode on one of our better episodes I think we've done is when we talked about the Cornetto trilogy. I'm a slasher of prices, and it looks to have that same energy and that same fun Edgar Wright-esque tone that I think a lot of movies these days are trying to ape off of. Anyways, what do you think about the trailer, Trilbee?
Well, okay. This film, you remember in 2011 when Drive came out, and there was a woman who sued the distributor because she watched the trailer for Drive and thought, I was hoping for a Fast and Furious film, and this is slow and boring. She felt it was false advertising. This film looks like the movie she was wanting to see. And I don't mean that in a way to belittle Drive or Baby Driver, because this trailer was off the fucking chain. To quote Hot Fuzz, this doesn't look like an Edgar Wright film. But I don't mean that in a bad way. This just looks so radically different from what I'm used to seeing from Edgar Wright. Like, obviously, I'm sure once you watch the film, you'll get his propensity for music, snappy dialogue editing, tomfoolery, and all that stuff. But it doesn't look like an Edgar Wright film. But the trailer was still terrific. I love the cast. There's one shot, I think it's in the international trailer, because there were 2 trailers for this released yesterday. And it's the shot where Baby is driving the red car backwards, it spins around, and then it goes round the corner, and the camera follows it. That's a superb bit of cinematography. And it doesn't look anything like, say, Scott Pilgrim or The World's End, but it seems like his action chops are still just on par. Like, it just seems like Edgar Wright is just continually evolving as a technical filmmaker. And it looks so much fun.
It looks to be kind of like his, in the same way his movies are always kind of a commentary of certain kind of films, where Shaun of the Dead was clearly an homage to zombie horror films like Night of the Living Dead and whatnot, or Dawn of the Dead, and then Hot Fuzz was aping off the Michael Bay-esque action movies of the 90s and 2000s. This film, this really does seem to feel like they're trying to handle like movies like The Transporter or Drive, that kind of like serious, this guy's on the even something like as simple as something like kind of like even like Hitman, of where it's like this guy's he's a loner and he's got to be the driver, and they really, but they seem to like take that kind of generic action movie plot and style and flip, because you always see the trailers for the direct-to-DVD movies about a guy who has to do one last thing to save his girl from this generic British white guy. You know what I'm saying? And it's so I feel like that's what they're kind of aping off of here. But it looks to have such style, a really nice color palette. It feels really, really smooth for all of the which I get, maybe that's why it doesn't feel like the Edgar Wright style, because Edgar Wright seems to have a lot of cuts to this movie, especially in a movie like Hot Fuzz. But then again, it also seems to be very similar to his cinematography in a movie like The World's End, which has a lot of smooth flowing shots.
And some very long takes, like when it's in the beehive, I think, in The World's End, and
the bathroom fight.
Yeah, and they do have some frenetic cuts and camera movements, but there are still a lot of long shots. There's still a lot of great stunt choreography happening. And I've heard some people describe this film as Edgar Wright's La La Land, which I think is kind of insane, but the more you think about it, the more it makes sense. You do get this sort of relatively cliche story that is aping a genre, like a well-known genre convention. That's not a criticism of La La Land. I loved it. But it's all, you also just have
hashtag give it to Moonlight.
Yeah.
Have we talked about that on this show?
We haven't.
Yet?
No.
Oh my god! Can we briefly touch on the ridiculousness that was this year's Academy Awards? I know it's old news at this point because we always record these podcasts far too late in terms of social media.
All I'll say is that it would have been a million times more awkward if it was the other way around.
Oh,
if Moonlight had got up on that stage and then it turned out La La Land had won. Like, I'm not saying either scenario was preferred, but, you know.
Can you imagine if, like, this movie about, this young, black, gay man goes up there and the movie about white people ends up taking it from them? Could you imagine what that'd be? Like, they already took jazz. They already took back jazz.
Hashtag give jazz back to Marvel. But the Academy Awards were actually pretty good. It was a good ceremony.
Oh, yeah. It was a good ceremony. There was a couple moments I feel like they could have spiced things up a bit. Like, they did the middling is there's a wrong word. Like, the smaller categories, best short, live action, documentary. Louis C.K. has a great bit on best documentary short subject a couple years ago.
Oh yeah.
When he's like the people winning this award's going to go home to their crappy apartment in their Honda Civic. You're just like, it's moments like that were kind of missing from the Oscars. Like, the whole Moonlight thing took over the entire ceremony, but it didn't have any more moments like that throughout the show. Yeah. Besides the tour bus thing, which I think A, went on too long, and B, wasn't very funny. But I still think Kimmel was a good host.
Yeah, I think he did good, and throughout the entire ceremony, he was taking jabs at Matt Damon.
Yes.
What the ending controversy that got in the way of the conclusion to that recurring gag, because the Oscars were going to end with Matt Damon and Jimmy Kimmel sat next to each other, and then once they realized something was wrong, and Jimmy Kimmel was sat next to Damon, Matt was like, "I think something's happening on the stage," and Kimmel was like, "Oh, they should get the host to sort that out." What? Wait a minute! And then he ran up onto the stage and
what a frantic that! I don't know if you heard the heartbreak in one of the producers' voices when he's like, "We lost, by the way."
Well, top marks to that guy, because it wasn't an Academy member who broke the news. It was one of the producers who had given his speech, and they were so classy about it. And it's kind of going to suck that the very first movie to win Best Picture with an entirely black cast is going to have to share its glory with La La Land, and it will never be mentioned in the same sentence, like on its own. La La Land is going to be in the same sentence as Moonlight, basically forever, which is disappointing. But in terms of destiny or fate or life or whatever dealing people a bad hand, they made the most of that bad hand. They made lemonade.
I blame Faye Dunaway for that, because you can really tell. What's his name? The guy's name.
But I've forgotten.
Yeah, those two, the old man. I'm Warren something. Warren Beatty.
Warren Beatty.
Right?
Warren Beatty.
Yeah, Warren Beatty. You can tell he didn't want to say it, and then he gives it to Faye. He's like, "What are we gonna do?" And then Faye just runs with it and goes, "La La Land," and we're just like, "Oh, okay." But you can tell. That. You can tell that wasn't... He knew something was up, and I blame Faye Dunaway for the reason this whole fiasco happened. Well, I blame Faye Dunaway and the two people whose job was to keep track of the envelopes.
Oh, yeah.
You know what actually happened? There's a table backstage. I guarantee. There's a table backstage, and there were two envelopes. There was a Spare Emma Stone envelope, and there was a Moonlight envelope. There were literally two envelopes left on the entire table, I bet you. And one of them said... And maybe there was a label next to it that said Best Picture and Best Actress. Maybe those were switched. And one poor intern who's been run ragged all night trying to make sure everything went perfectly by all these producers and people yelling at him. Someone yelled, "Get the envelope!" He's like, "Yes, sir." He grabbed the envelope, and he grabbed the wrong envelope, and the Moonlight envelope was still sitting back on the table backstage. And that intern lost his job.
The envelopes have the category written on them in like a gold ink.
Do they really?
Yeah, but it's in very...
Then how did this happen?
It's in very small letters. There was originally the two, Bonnie and Clyde, they were going to descend down a staircase onto the stage, but Faye Dunaway's high heel shoes or her footwear or whatever just wasn't having it, so they walked onto the stage normally. And that last minute change, coupled with the fact that one of the guys who was responsible for the envelopes and everything was tweeting backstage photos of Emma Stone, he was clearly starstruck. There was a lot of distraction, a lot of bad elements coming together at the worst possible time, because this is the first time it's happened. In 90 years, in 89 years.
89 years of the Academy Awards, this has never happened.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You have one job. I mean, it was bound to happen eventually, but oh, my sister baby's crying. Like, I'm just saying.
Well, your baby sister's annoyed that Moonlight had its moment stolen. Like, this goes deep.
I'm just saying. You know, it was bound to happen, but you did have one. Like, your one job was to ensure that this happened properly.
Yeah.
You know, it was your one job was to make sure that the envelopes were handed to the right people, and I don't know, just that whole fiasco really. I mean, I'm happy Moonlight won. I think probably deserved to win this year.
Yeah.
I hope if this makes you make Moonlight feel any better. It probably won't. I want to apologize if you guys can hear the crying baby in the background.
I can't hear it.
Okay. I'm hoping the audience
I just assumed that was you talking.
Either. No.
Oh, snap.
Sorry.
Maximum sass.
I just hope that, I guess now Moonlight will never be forgotten, if that makes any sense, because a lot of best pictures are, like, oh, what won best picture last year? Like, if you can, Trilbee, can you name the movies from before Moonlight, what won the best picture for the last 5 years? I can name them, but can you?
Okay, going back, Spotlight, Birdman.
Yep.
God. Okay, King's Speech, but I'm going in a different order now.
Okay.
Oh, God.
You forgot what one after King's Speech.
No, wait. God, you would ask me this at 9:45 at night when I've had a 12-hour shift at work. God, what was nominated in 2012?
I got you.
Put me out of my misery.
Okay, so let's go back.
This can't be fun radio for
Spotlight,
people.
Spotlight, Birdman, 12 Years a Slave,
12 Years a Slave,
Argo.
Yep.
The Artist.
That's what Yep.
And The King's Speech. Those were the movies nominated before that. And out of all those movies, which ones are still being talked about today? Maybe Birdman.
Well, I've not even thought about Birdman since the past.
That's
minute.
My thing, right?
I think Spotlight is Spotlight was a really weird winner, wasn't it? It's a good film, great, really good film. But
it was fine. It was fine. I said that then, and I'll say it now. It was fine. It was a good story that needed to be told, but I thought the execution was pretty poor. Kind of like Moonlight. I'm like, Moonlight's a good film, but it was fine. It's fine.
But did you hear about the movie theater that at a screening of Moonlight played the first 2 minutes of La La Land?
Oh,
as an obvious joke.
Oh, you best. Oh,
Can you imagine being the producers of La La Land and being like, you know what, I never watched Moonlight. I heard it was really good. It took our Oscar away. Let's go watch the movie. And then you attend that screening.
Oh, no. Mm-hmm.
I can just hear you cringing through the Skype chat.
Sorry, I was drinking tea. I can imagine, you think you hear the You hear, I would like to imagine, it wasn't even, the logos of La La Land either. You're thinking you're at the Moonlight screening, the logos from Moonlight start playing, and then you just hear, bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum. You're just like, this is a really cheery movie.
Yeah, I think they played almost the whole opening number before changing the reel.
And then you just hear, I don't know if movies still use film reels, but I'd imagine the screen went all digitally, messed up, and then you just hear the Moonlight starts playing, and it's like, wow. First of all, what a peppy way to start off Moonlight, which is not a peppy movie, but, if someone started showing me La La Land and then showed me Moonlight, I'd be pissed. I'd be like, wait a minute, I want to go watch that fun, energetic movie about romance again, because, La La Land doesn't get heavy until about halfway into it, so, oh man, I'd be pissed. Okay.
Anyway, we were talking about Baby Driver.
We're talking about Baby Driver and how good it does look, and the action looks good. The cast looks crazy. It's such a stacked cast.
Mm-hmm. Kevin Spacey.
I didn't know he was in this.
Yeah, I didn't know that Meryl Streep was in it until I looked at the cast list. She's not in the trailer,
right.
but she's in the film.
Yes, she is in it. Oh, I'm so excited. Not Oscar nomination there.
And how fun does John Hamm look? He looks he looks
he
like he's having the time of his life.
He looks like he walked off the set of Black Mirror and he's just like, oh yeah, Adam Driver. Not Adam Driver, Baby Driver. God, why I have Adam Driver on my brain? I think I watched Force Awakens last night.
Oh, okay, that might be why.
Yeah, I got Adam Driver on the brain.
Well, see, because this has been a passion project for Edgar Wright for nearly 20 years. I think Noel Fielding was meant to be attached to this film in the Baby Driver role. In the early 2000s, something like that. He's been building up a lot of cred with Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and all that, and now he's finally getting to make his passion project. And it turns out it's looking absolutely awesome. And the international trailer is the one I prefer out of the two, but both are still awesome trailers.
See, I haven't seen the international trailer. Yeah. I do. It does kind of also have that old timey 1970s almost vibe to it, of this kind of sleek style of, he goes by Baby. It just looks like, when I saw that trailer, if I hadn't watched the the Atomic Blonde trailer right after that, I would be so excited for Baby Driver. That being said, trademark, I saw the Atomic Blonde trailer, and I feel like, Trilbee, you've also seen the Atomic Blonde trailer. And listeners, if you have not seen the trailer for Atomic Blonde, I need you to pause the podcast right now, open up a tab in YouTube, and watch the Atomic Blonde Red Band trailer, and it is exceptional. I feel like they're gearing up to a John Wick crossover. I don't know what they're going to do with this, but it looks... It's you remember we were talking about this a long time ago on the show, maybe almost a year ago, we were talking about whether or not they do a female James Bond.
Yeah.
And I said that I said I'm only okay with that if she's still a womanizer. And
she literally is.
It's female James Bond with an R rating, and it looks awesome. It look like there's the opening scene of the trailer where it's she's kicking ass for 30 seconds. It looks like something out of Daredevil, and then
because this is from the original John Wick was directed by two guys. One of them went off to do John Wick Part 2. The other one is doing this. Yeah,
and then now I think one of them's also doing Deadpool 2, isn't he? They just signed on to do Deadpool 2, which is exciting. How great is it, by the way? In a classic James Bond move, they're talking. I think you can hear the audio playing or whatever. And what is it? Is it Toby Jones that says, "So you failed to not be in contact with the French spy or whatever?" And she's like, "Obviously." It looks to be a lot of fun. Speaking of cast, you got John Goodman, Toby Jones, James McAvoy, who looks great, by the way. If you guys have yet to see Split, you guys got to see Split, because James McAvoy is he's on fire right now for me.
When he opens the trunk of the upside down car, that was
Welcome to Berlin.
That was really funny.
Yes. Oh, this movie, it looks like this comes out summertime, so it's not that far away.
Yeah, August, I think, or July.
I was gonna say, that's August. That's a good month of August. That's two good movies looking to be in a row that I'm gonna have to go check out. Oh man, yeah. But it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's these type of films where when people do their most anticipated of the year, that kind of fall under the radar because there's no trailer for them, because they are smaller mid-tiered budget films that really don't start to gain any sort of traction or momentum up until a couple of months before they get released. Yeah, but now we know that 2017, if these films do live up to their initial promise, it's going to be something pretty special. At least I hope so.
It's nice to see Charlize Theron in the action role again, because she's going to be the villain in Fast 8, which I really don't want to see. I'm probably not going to see unless you want to talk about it on the podcast, but I really don't want to see that movie.
Well, that was the new trailer, wasn't it? And I'm just kind of amazed that I liked the new trailer, but then the Baby Driver trailer came out, and then I thought, oh, this is what a awesome car movie looks like.
Yeah, I mean, the Charlize Theron looks really fun, and it just looks like another, much like Baby Driver, crazy, insane, fun action movie it's probably gonna have some stupid plot, but who cares? 'Cause it's gonna be like a cool action movie.
Yeah.
And Sophia Botella's getting work, which is always nice, because she really surprised me in Kingsman. She really surprised me in Star Trek Beyond, and she's looking to be like she's the mummy, and now I'm glad she's out there getting work, and it's nice to see a good female action hero in today's world.
Unless you go into the comment section of the Atomic Blonde trailer and just see people pissed off that it's a female lead in an action movie.
Really? Still?
Yeah.
Really? How'd you guys celebrate? Trilbee, how'd you celebrate International Women's Day?
Well, what day of the week was it on?
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
It was Wednesday, March 8th.
Yeah, so I was at work. I seem to recall texting my fiance and saying, "Happy International Women's Day. You lot are all right." And I think that was more or less how we celebrated International Women's Day.
You lot are all right.
You lot are all right. You
in other
okay
news,
in my book.
because people hate when we get political on the show. Mark Hamill posted a picture on his Instagram. I'm not sure if you've seen it, and it's like a plaque with Donald Trump's face on it. And I think the caption is it was like a quote by FDR.
Ask not what your country can do for you.
Yeah, and then it's one by JFK. And then, like, the picture of Trump is, like, the entire grab him by the pussy speech, in quotation marks. And it's just, like, our president of the United... It's, like, and then the bottom, it's, like, the president of the United States. And just,
like, hey, keep in mind, Trey, there is no actual evidence that Donald Trump has committed sexual assault, apart from him saying that he did it on the record.
Like,
there's no proof other than him admitting it.
Every movie ever and every episode of Law & Order ever, when they wear a wire, they wear it to incriminate the person, to get them to say it, so that they can... Alright, whatever.
Yep.
Right. And not to mention, he's confirmed that he said that, and he calls it locker room...
If you're in a locker room and you hear someone say that, get the hell out of that locker room.
Yeah, if you're if you're supposed to be in a locker room, which is meant for, like, changing in showers, and someone's telling a story about how they don't care if they sexually assault people, you probably should get that person out of the room full of naked people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That just seems...
And isn't
don't get political, guys.
Yeah,
stick to movies.
Isn't that comment a bit sexist against men, though? Like, me and the guys in the locker room, we've talked about that all the time. That's sexist against men, isn't it?
Meninist.
So now I need to hand over my feminist credentials. I need to hand over my loyalty card.
Yeah, they're gonna come find you, Trilbee.
Every 8th time I tell someone to check their privilege, I get a free ice cream at Baskin Robbins, because Baskin Robbins always finds out.
Every 8th time you tell somebody to check their privilege, Trilbee, that's a genius. Write that down and save that for later.
Oh no, someone will do it on the wiki. Someone will write it down.
Yeah. And if you guys haven't checked by now, this is the time where if you're listening, tweet at Bandit. Wake up Bandit.
Hashtag check your privilege.
I'm going to tweet it now, and I'll leave you guys to retweet that in the future. Should we talk about the Wonder Woman trailer? Do you want to touch on that?
The trailer was alright. I preferred the last one. The one
that last trailer was great.
That was an exceptional trailer. I think the film looks fine. Judging from just this trailer, it looks fine. It didn't get me particularly hyped about it. I really don't have a lot more to say about it, except it feels like they either don't have much interesting footage to show because of the quality of the film, or they're holding a lot of the film like under wraps.
The more we see, oh, sorry, no, I'll let you finish your thought. I'm sorry.
Well, it was more like it seems like a lot of the third act of the film is just not appearing in the promotional material, which is absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, spoilers and people can be sensitive to all the information. That's absolutely fine. It just feels like they're either hiding a third act twist, or maybe the third act is going to upend expectations somewhat. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah. Here's what I will say. The more I agree with you on that. I think that it's okay to hold back. I feel like that's what James Gunn's doing with Guardians, because this movie is Guardians 2 is going to be insane. I don't know what they're going to do, but it's going to be insane. They're not showing us anything, and that makes me really excited. Force Awakens did a good chunk of that for the first couple of trailers before they started doing the TV spots.
Yeah.
I'm down for movies not giving us any information. But what I will say with Wonder Woman is, the more I see of Gal Gadot, the more nervous I am for the movie in general, because when the little child actress, who is only going to be in the movie for like maybe 5 minutes, is looking to be a better actress than your lead that you have geared up to be Wonder Woman, who is the icon of feminism. It's not it doesn't make me excited to see this movie. The action looks good, but that's, you know what I'm saying, like good action doesn't get you in a superhero movie anymore. That's been done to death already.
Yeah.
The color palette looks good. Everything on Themyscira looks beautiful. Well, I will say that. And the World War I stuff looks really cool. But if your lead actress sucks, then I can't care. You know.
Well, they released a new poster like yesterday, and the posters have been amazing for this thing.
Yes.
Obviously, it goes to the cliche teal and orange look. I think that's what it's called, like blue and orange look.
I like that though. I love those kind of posters. Yeah, if it looks good, it looks good.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that this. I don't want to get my hopes up because I've been burned so many times before. But I think this is like an important film because I think it's got so much weight on its shoulders because it's the first like proper female-driven superhero film, like at least since in this current renaissance, like since 2008 when, you know, Iron Man and the Dark Knight.
Trilbee, I love the way you say renaissance.
Yeah, because we've had Jessica Jones on TV, but like Wonder Woman's the most iconic female, like probably one of the most iconic female characters.
Yeah, this is going to be the Wonder Woman movie we get for a few. In the same way, like if Thor sucked, we would have to wait a long time to get another Thor movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, the same reason we have to wait a decade to get another Green Lantern movie, we would have to wait at least a decade to get another Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah.
If this movie sucks, which it might, from everything I'm hearing. It's not great, everything I've heard.
Well, the stuff that we've heard is not entirely official, so that's because
true. But that wasn't even. But the same thing was the same with Suicide Squad. There were sources and people, at least I followed, that tweeted out and said word on the street is that Suicide Squad isn't great, that they're trying to scramble to fix it, and that's what ended up happening. The same thing with BVS.
There was also word on the street that Batman v Superman got a standing ovation from the people who made it. So. You know,
of course, it's we talked about this on the show, but it's like your kid walks up to you with this really crappy crayon drawing, and it's like, "Good job, sweetie. I really appreciate you doing this for us, sweetie." And then you put it and you throw it in the trash, and you never see it again. You know, what I'm saying? No, you're gonna tell your child that you paid $250 million to make this drawing that sucks. Yeah, that's gonna be a real good look for you guys. Of course, they're gonna tell us that.
Anyway.
Okay, sorry.
That's
sorry.
Oh, did you speaking of Renaissance and French stuff? Did you hear that there was the story that Disney dropped recently?
I thought this was going to be some kind of like Renee Zellweger kind of transition. I was like, wait a minute.
that sounds so weird.
Ahead.
But the news story that in the new Beauty and the Beast that it was announced that LeFou was going to be a gay character, and there's just me saying no shit. But then there was I think Alabama, was it Alabama? A theatre in Alabama decided to boycott the film because it does not have Christian values, and that was a news story.
I think there's an entire country that I think is banning the movie for that reason.
I think it's Malaysia.
And it's some Asian country, oh god, here I am hating on Asians again apparently, but
all Asian countries allegedly. Are the same, Trey, eh? Is that what you're saying?
They can't see. No, that's racist. I apologize.
Oh. I don't even need to make joking accusations. You just give yourself the rope to hang yourself.
Yeah, well, I might as well just adhere to the stereotype I've been thrown at. Speaking of which, I was watching Family Guy the other day, and there was a great joke about Asians in their stores. It was this Asian comedian. And I'm gonna keep going with this. There's this Asian comedian, and he's giving this stand up to a bunch of black people. You don't know it's black people yet, and the guy's like, this black guy comes in. What he buying? What's he doing? And it cuts to the entire sea of black people, and the audience are all booing him. And it's like, you stay out my stall. I'm in your face. Oh, it's so funny. Anyway, tangent aside, keep this under 2 hours.
Well, it reminds, although the LeFou news kind of reminds me of when they announced that Wonder Woman was a bisexual character, or like one of the writers of the comic book came out. Oh, I can't remember who it was.
One of the bigger Wonder Woman writers that we know is gay. I think it's Mark Andreyko, and he's a gay man, so that's not.
But then when it was announced that LeFou was going to be gay in this version, I was just thinking, is this news to people? If some, maybe they don't explicitly say it in the 1991 film, whatever year it came out.
91, it was 91.
Yeah, they don't explicitly say it, but if somebody asked you, that guy who is singing about how great and physically attractive his friend is he straight? would you have said yes?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Like maybe he's bisexual because he enjoys the company of the ladies and everything. It's just
and
gay
there's
or bisexual, but he's not straight. and it's this. It if you want to raise the debate of whether or not Disney should be the one to educate and let people and let your kids know that gayness is a terrible way to describe it. That homosexuality is a thing in today's world. And if that's your excuse, my rebuttal, which is what I said on Twitter, the Bandit Incorporated, my rebuttal is, then who is Disney to describe that heterosexuality is a thing in today's world? Or who is Disney to say that it's okay to not be racist? To Disney, they make a stance, and you can argue that this is a political stance, sure, or you can make the argument that they are simply stating the fact, which is, it is okay to like people for who they are and accept people for who they are. And someone, I don't know. Sorry to interrupt, but no, I'll forget this point if I don't make it because I'm stupid and I have poor memory. But somebody said, well, why don't they just have characters come on screen and announce that they're a black character or something? It's like, well, no, because that's a visual thing. Like homosexuality or sexual preference is something that is not visual. If you need someone to either outright say it, or you need some visual stimuli there, you need like an action from that character or somebody talking about that character, you do need that prompting. If that makes sense. It doesn't. They don't have to like Alien Covenant can get away with two gay characters make it out in the same, because A, it's an R-rated movie where you can have that kind of stuff happening, and B, I wouldn't want people making out in my kids' movies anyway. So I don't, having somebody, I haven't seen Beauty and the Beast, but having, say, LeFou, in the song, say something along the lines of, I really love Gaston, or something like that. Making the insinuation. There's nothing wrong with, and I'm not even trying to talk about whether or not you agree with homosexuality, because that's a whole other debate in its entirety, but just discussing on whether or not Disney should be the ones to do that. It's irrelevant whether or not they should do it, because it's there in today's world. And I think it's great that Disney is doing that to show little kids, oh, look, there's this thing that happens in today's world, and it's not weird, because even LeFou is doing it, this giant character in this multi-billion-dollar movie that's probably going to happen. Even LeFou is gay, so anyone can be gay. That way they don't go to school, and if they see somebody that has those feelings, or they themselves have those kind of feelings, kind of like in Moonlight, and they don't either bully or get bullied by other people, because they can understand what that means. And that's a great thing for Disney to want to do. But no, we have pissed off parents who don't want their kids knowing what gay people are. Yeah, it's like if there was like a straight character and like in a kids film, a straight couple, and they were just snogging on screen and doing it and everything. Yeah, like regardless of the genders that it's happening to, that's too explicit for a kids film. Like it's not like in the song the Gaston. It's not like LeFou's gonna go, no one sticks as incredibly thick as Gaston's. Like that's not gonna happen. Can it though? That would be really funny. But Trilbee, we're gonna rewrite Beauty and the Beast, and that's gonna be the title of the song. You know what? I'm especially good at ejaculating. Like that's not gonna happen in the song. Trilbee, we thought about this for a long time. That's really good writing. I feel like it's just been in your brain. I like to think of myself as a writer, but I think that there's been reports saying what the gay moment at the end of the film is. I'm not going to give spoilers. Have you seen Chicken Run, the Aardman film? Yeah. You know the scene it's been a few years, but yeah. You know the scene when they're dancing in the barn? So that they get the radio and they dance, and the two rats, Nick and Fetcher, and they say, "Do you want to dance?" Yeah, all right then. Apparently, that's the moment. Basically, that's the equivalent. That's the explicitly gay moment that has caused this film to get banned in some places. What? Are you serious? See, now I'm disappointed. So. Apparently I thought maybe he was gonna do like a Bugs Bunny style, like lean down and give somebody a big old smooch or something. Yeah. But if it's just as simple as asking somebody for a... Trilbee, do you want to dance? I've been waiting like a whole year for you to ask that question, Trey. To be fair, I've been a regular on this podcast for about a year, so that's kind of accurate. You ever dance with the devil in a pale moonlight, Trilbee? I was going to make a Moonlight joke then, but maybe I thought not.
Let's go to the beach, Trilbee. Let's go to the beach, Trilbee.
Well, what's the name of the play that Moonlight is based off of? The film. It's based off of a play called In Moonlight, Black Boys Look Blue.
Oh, all right.
So
right on.
that's the joke.
Could you imagine if they kept that title? In the same way they had to say Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance the entire time when it was nominated. You would be like, In Moonlight, Black Boys Look Blue, and the winner is In Moonlight, Black Boys Look Blue.
That would have been
like the producer has to be like, wait a minute, In Moonlight, Black Guys Look Blue just won. Like that whole thing would just change the whole dynamic of the Oscars. Yeah. All right. But
I have any other stories or
no? Besides Wonder Woman, we touched on Wonder Woman. That's about it. Yeah, that's all the news we have here. So I think it means it's time to. Should we do? Do you have anything in the homework section you want to touch on?
Feature presentations, Logan and King Kong, right?
Kong, yeah.
I saw Fist Fight, but you kind of summed up my thoughts last week. Pretty funny. Okay. I probably won't remember it in a week's time.
Okay, well, you know what? We're going to jump right in the feature presentation then. Feature presentation.
And now, our feature presentation.
Minutes in. Alright guys, this is the news portion of the show, in which case we talk about, not news, wow. I just completely threw in the entire... I'm keeping all this in. This is the feature presentation, in which case we talk about a feature presentation. We're going to stick with that intro. Yep. Man, that was terrible. Okay, so I guess before we jump into Kong and Logan, I'm just going to put this into the feature presentation because I don't feel like making three different segments this week. So I also saw Get Out. And I'll keep it spoiler-free for everyone who hasn't seen it yet. It's been out for a few weeks here, but it's not out in the UK yet.
It's not out in the UK yet, so please don't spoil it.
So I'm going to keep this as spoiler-free as I possibly can, I promise. You know how I am about spoilers, so, I'm not afraid to tweet my friend Trilbee if I think he ruined something for me. So here's what I say about Get Out. First of all, it's really good. It's an incredibly strong film. It has, Jordan Peele has this great sensibility of... He really takes the racism that you think the movie's going to be about and finds a very interesting dynamic with it. He's really able to almost flip the entire idea of racism on its head and say, well, what if it's actually this? And you think it's going to be this really kind of anti-white people movie, but it's really not.
To be fair, we have it coming.
Yeah, and it's really not. It really takes the entire "we hate black people" thing and just kind of runs with it in a way that just feels so original and so fresh. And I really thought once I discovered that, and I was thinking about that, and after the movie I saw, I was like, this movie is way smarter than I thought than I gave it credit for. The leads are great. You may know him better as the guy from the second episode of Black Mirror with all the bikes. He's the lead in this movie, and he's really good. Allison Williams of Girls fame, she's in it, and she's really strong. Bradley Whitford from The West Wing. Speaking of which, on side tangent, I just started the second season of the show The West Wing. Do you know what The West Wing is, Trilbee?
Oh yeah. My mum watches it like once every 2 years, like marathons the entire thing.
I'm into season 2. It is one of the better shows I've seen in a very long time. I'm sad it came out when I was too young to understand what writing was. Because my God, if it's not wonderful. If you guys have not seen The West Wing, please start watching The West Wing. Forget 14% Iron Fist and binge The West Wing. Speaking of which, Iron Fist is probably next week, so that's whatever.
I don't know if I can bring myself to watch it all.
We'll give it 3 episodes and see what happens.
Okay.
If it's truly terrible, I'm not going to finish it either, because I know how I am about my TV. That'll be a first for a Marvel Netflix show, by the way, if I don't finish it, because I always finish the series. But to Get Out, it's really strong. It's really funny. It's also quite suspenseful. It falls into some of the traps that I call first time directing-itis, which, as someone who is a first time director, I'm trying to keep an eye out for. The movie opens on a tracking shot, which isn't a spoiler. It's just something that I'm just gonna drop there. Opens on a tracking shot. It's a good scene. It's a great opening scene. But I can feel like Jordan Peele was like, oh yeah, because the same thing happened with The Birth of a Nation with Nate Parker, I think his name is, the writer and director and star of that. He's like, I'm gonna put tracking shots on it. It's gonna look beautiful and nice, but so it opens on a tracking shot. And it's like, oh, look how directory he wants to be. The cinematography is quite flat. but I don't think the movie's about looking good. The story itself is good, the performances are good, and it's really suspenseful. It's really it goes places towards the end where you're just like, oh my god. And I'm trying to be as vague as possible, so that's why it sounds a little scatterbrained right now. But overall, I think it's a great start to Jordan Peele's film directing career, and I'm not sure I want every single one of his movies to have this kind of racism message to it, but if he can approach every film he does from here on out with as much reverence and care that he gave toward Get Out, I'd greatly appreciate it. 8.7 out of 10. Yeah, there it is.
Sweet. I'm gonna try and see Split this weekend, not Split, Get Out.
I was gonna say, you haven't seen Split yet? Show me what gives.
No, I still haven't. Although it seems like I'm the only person to have not seen like either of those films, because they've both done really well at the box office, haven't they?
Split is so good, man. You gotta see Split, man.
I know. I've got to see, but it's gone now. It's left theaters. I'm not going to be able to see it until DVD or Blu-ray. But I think it's what surprised me.
Trilbee, there are ways. It's in the hands of top men, Trilbee.
Chappie watched Split? I'm guessing that's what, yeah.
I was going to be like, pirate men, Trilbee. Pirate men. You really went there with the Chappie watch Splits, and now that it's over. Never mind. It's over.
But, although I do... what's happened in the past year is that some horror sequels have really, really let the side down. Like, The Blair Witch was a box office disappointment, but then you get original say slightly higher budget horror like Split or Don't Breathe or Get Out,
or Lights Out. Yeah, and there were some good horror sequels last year. I think Conjuring 2 was a really strong sequel. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I really dug Ouija. The Ouija prequel by Mike Flanagan.
It's come out on DVD here, so I'm going to check it out.
You make sure you watch with a few people in the room, because I think that's what that really heightens the experience. Also, speaking of the horror genre, apparently Annabelle 2, done by Lights Out's David Sandberg, is apparently really good. So now I'm excited for that one. Nice. Yeah, apparently there were a couple of horror movies that premiered at South by, and they are apparently both well praised, one of which being Annabelle 2, and so I'm excited now. I'm excited.
Okay. After Split and Get Out, I'm just wondering, what is the third film in the it's a weird duo of films where the title basically just means get out of here, like Split, get out. What's the third?
I can't wait for the third one. I was gonna say,
make like a banana and get out.
It's like The Force Awakens. It's like a Force Awakens: The Last Jedi. It's just like Split and get out. Yeah. I can't wait for the fourth one. Don't let the door hit you.
That sounds like I'm trying to imagine I'm trying to reverse engineer a horror film that has that title now. The killer eating door. The man-eating door that, if you walk through it, chomp, chomp, chomp.
See, I think in my plot is like it just gets this girl that's going to be a female lead, and she has to try to make it down this really long and complicated hallway. And she has to try, but there's a series of doors she has to get through. Kind of like Snowpiercer, but just one long hallway.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so that's my plot. So if you combine Split and Get Out, it's based around a black guy who goes to meet in an interracial couple, and he goes to meet the parents of the girlfriend, and it turns out both parents have 23 personalities. Or
he goes and sees his girlfriend's parent, but the parent's one person. And it's like, this is my mom and this is my dad.
This is and he's James McAvoy.
Or better yet, he's going to go meet the parents, and he realizes that his girlfriend's parents are two of her personalities. So he's like, it's like the girlfriend goes upstairs and it's like, hey, is your dad here? And you just hear like a male voice come down, and it's the girlfriend like dressed up like as a dad, and it's like a male voice, and you're just like, what? Oh man.
How about the parents is the guy from Hot Fuzz whose mother and sister are the same person? Yarp.
Yarp.
Are they as big as him? Mum and the sister.
And then the neighbor is a farmer's mom. That might be the best line of that movie. Farmer's moms.
You've got a mustache. I know. Anyway, speaking of mustaches,
let's watch that movie again.
Should we talk about Logan?
Yeah, let's get into Logan. All right, so it's been out for a couple weeks here in the States. So I don't know if you want to jump right into the full spoilers. I'm down for jumping into full spoilers.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, well then you know what that means. Bwah, 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 click away, click away.
You may
Spoilers,
fire
full
when ready.
spoilers. You may fire when ready. Yes, Logan spoilers ahead. Well, I guess I should put a timestamp for when we start talking about Kong. I don't know. I'll think about that later on. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Trilbee, what do you think of Logan?
Logan is one hell of an experience to watch. It does put you through the ringer. It feels like a complete package. Oddly enough, it makes you laugh, it makes you cry, it gives you it gives you awesome action that you didn't even know was going to be possible in this type of film. But it also just has a real narrative heft behind it. And as soon as I saw the film, the first thing I did, because I saw it and then I had to drive home for an hour and a half or 2 hours because of where I saw it, and I just couldn't stop thinking about it on the way home. And the more I thought about it, because the more layers I discovered, the more nuance it had. This is a really comprehensive and in-depth film, and in the best possible way. It has. I saw it nearly 2 weeks ago, and it's just
it sucks because Wolverine didn't get covered in adamantium like the comic books. Sorry, just continuing to quote Bandit Incorporated's "Why I Hate Logan" video.
Well, you know what? Spider-Man unmasked himself in Civil War, the comic book, so that means the movie's terrible because he didn't do that.
Exactly.
And the Winter Soldier was different from its movie counterparts, so it's terrible. Now, this is, I've not read Old Man Logan all the way through, and it feels like it does something similar to Civil War, and it does something similar to the Winter Soldier storyline, and Days of Future Past as well, where it does take the concept, the beginning nuts and bolts of the idea. The story, actually, of a road trip trying to start the new X-Men, and then it kind of diverts from there, and the 7 Days Future Past was about going back in time to fix something with the Sentinels. Yeah, and Logan, like Captain America Civil War, is the type of film that you can't really recreate because its circumstances are so specific to why it works. Because Logan works as well as it does because we've grown so attached to Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart in these roles. And if there wasn't that nearly 20-year baggage of these characters, who we have seen age on screen, and then we see their relationship come to an end in this film, it wouldn't nearly have the impact. It's like I don't disagree, and I don't think that it does give it the necessary impact. But at the same time, I do feel like this movie can stand on its own, and I think you can still look at this as an emotional story about a man meeting his daughter and having to fight for his daughter and fight for what he believes is right until the very end. And I think you can look at it as in the same way you can look at something like Unforgiven, and without ever seeing the classic Clint Eastwood westerns, you can watch Unforgiven and see it as this isolated story and you can watch it without the context of the other X-Men movies, which I think that's what makes Logan so good. I think people are comparing this to The Dark Knight. I think it's far too early to do that, but I think the reason people are doing that is because it's choosing to do something different than pretty much every other superhero movie out there right now, and it's choosing to tell the story as opposed to making it a comic book movie, and I think that's why everyone's comparing it to Dark Knight so much. I get the comparisons where it's a comic book movie that's trying to tell a much more mature story, but I just think that the two are so tonally and structurally different, it's kind of tough to compare. But I think the only X-Men film you need to see to really get into it is standalone. It's impressively standalone considering the characters and the subject matter. But I think I've seen the first X-Men movie where Logan and Charles do meet for the first time, and those events are explicitly mentioned in Logan, like the New York incident, the Statue of Liberty, Logan being a cage fighter at the beginning. That's really the only context you need. Like if you have seen the rest of the films, great. But technically, timeline-wise, that's the only X-Men movie they could mention, because this takes place in a timeline where X-Men 1 was the only thing that happened because Charles Xavier had a seizure and killed all the other X-Men, and pretty much what was maybe a couple of years after the first X-Men movie ever happened. But if you've seen, if you watch the film on its own, it is a story about fatherhood and regret and loss and all that awesome avant-garde tour de force stuff. But if you have seen the previous X-Men films, you do get some additional stuff out of it. It's great that Logan and Charles Xavier have essentially swapped roles, where Logan is now the kind of the father figure to Charles, where he's the one who has to look after it and protect him, because he's the dangerous, potentially, like he's the mutant who could kill people. Like in the first X-Men film, there's the scene where Wolverine's having a nightmare and stabs Rogue. Like it feels like you take that scene into consideration, and Logan it reverses those roles, where Charles is the danger to the X-Men, Charles is the danger to other people.
See,
and
I thought
additional layers to it.
you keep going. No, you keep going. Yeah, I thought. Okay, I really thought they were going to build I think it's an Old Man Logan where they reveal that Logan killed all the X-Men. I thought that's where they were going with it, and in fact, it really wasn't until upon reflection that I realized. I'm pretty sure they blatantly say that Charles Xavier killed all the X-Men.
Oh yeah,
and I think that's what that scene was about, where Charles is like, I realized what I did, Logan, but they kept it ambiguous enough to where, like, especially towards the start, where Professor X's like, you're waiting for me to die or whatever. Logan, what did you do? And I really thought for a while, I was like, are they leading to the fact that Logan killed all the X-Men and something that happened? But no, they revealed that. And how crazy is that after everything they went through, it was like, when Logan thought he had another family, he had other people that were just like him, just these outcasts, they got taken out by the one man that was trying to keep them all together and save them.
Yeah.
And that's some tragedy right there.
Yeah.
That is some heavy stuff for a comic movie to try and handle. But at the same time, it was not without its levity. You're right. When she starts speaking Spanish, and in the car,
it starts hitting him.
Oh God! He's like, wait a minute, you talk? Are you serious? You talk? And then she starts speaking in Spanish, like super. Like quickly, that's clearly her, which would make sense if she was raised in Mexico. Of course, that's all she knows how to speak is Spanish.
Well, actually, the actress Daphne Keane is she's bilingual. She's Spanish, so she's really talented. I can barely speak English at the best.
We can't. I mean, you've got that Cockney English, Trilbee.
I have Cockney English.
You got that.
Shiny shoes, governor for a nickel.
Yeah. Chinese spot. McGregor. Yeah, you got that classic.
That's Scottish.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
but no, I take your point. Well, Logan is a film that it doesn't compromise.
Christian Bale, there it is. That's what I meant to say. Christian Bale.
But Logan does not compromise, and I think one of my favourite kind of unspoken moments in the film is when they go to that farmer's house, with the farmer's mums.
Have you played The Last of Us?
I have.
I don't mean to invite you again. This really does feel like The Last of Us in a lot of ways, but you keep going, Trilbee.
It mainly feels like The Last of Us just in the fatherhood and the adopted daughter mentality.
Well, even in the fact they go and find a family, a black family at that, and the black family ends up dying. I mean, there are parallels here where I'm just like, Last of Us.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that segment in The Last of Us. Not to say that The Last of Us has got forgettable stuff. I just have terrible memory, like I've said. I think I've said that before. I've already forgotten.
The Last of Us is one of the best games ever. It's my favorite game. No, you keep going, Trilbee.
But one of my favourite moments is when they do go to the family and Charles insists on staying the night. And the explicit reasoning for that is that he wants Logan to understand this is what a happy family is. This is the life that you can still have. But I think when he has his deathbed confession, where he thinks that it's Logan in the room, and he's finally remembering, it kind of clicked into place for me. I think the reason that Charles wanted to stay in that house isn't just because of wanting to show Logan a happy life for these fleeting moments of humanity. It was because he feels so guilty about what this knowledge of what he's done to the X-Men is in the back of his mind, and he feels so guilty, and he knows that he does not deserve this. He does not deserve to witness this happy family or lay in this nice bed and be looked after by these nice people. But it's kind of his own selfish need to feel that comfort after what he's done that makes him want to stay in that house and ultimately leads to the death of that family. I think that was just a really, really, really impactful unintended consequence for him. And then that moment, Charles Xavier, Patrick Stewart, he gives incredible performances, and
they gotta start releasing all these good performance movies in March, man, because he's gonna be the John Goodman of this year, where he just gets overlooked for having one of the best performances of 2017, I guarantee.
Yeah.
Because upon reflection, John Goodman should have gotten some kind of nomination of consideration for 10 Cloverfield Lane, and everyone just forgets that movie exists, and he is so damn good in it. But Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
I absolutely agree. And the scene when I feel terrible for forgetting the family's name. What's their? It's the family that stay. What's their last name?
I call them the red shirts because like the moment I came out, I was like dead. Maybe the son might live and get away, but dead definitely.
But yeah, when X-24 shows up and the dad of the family drives him into the overturned vehicle and he gets impaled and is stuck there, and then he comes out and he tries to kill Logan. He shoots him. But of course the clip is empty and he dies right there and then.
Beautiful moment.
That guy used his last moments to condemn Logan, to condemn Wolverine. This film doesn't cop out.
That scene might be my favorite set piece of the movie, only because it has, in my opinion, the most heartbreaking scenes. We'll get to the final shot in a few minutes because that bawled my eyes out. But like. It was so brutal to see X-24. By the way, no idea that X-24 was in this movie. So when he showed up, they kept bringing up the adamantine bullet. So I'm just like, what are they insinuating here? What's that going to be used for? And the moment younger Hugh Jackman showed up, I was like, after I get over my initial shock of, oh my god, it's younger Hugh Jackman. Wait, why is he looking that way? Oh my god, he's killing Charles. Oh wait, it's a clone. And then I went, oh, that's what the bullet's for. Okay, they're going to kill him that way. Great, perfect, done. I got it. But then. When Daphne, I'm gonna call her Daphne King, when Laura's getting dragged away, and she's like, help, she's like screaming her head off, and like Logan gets that moment of like, and he looks up and he realizes what's going on, and he's just like, Charles, and he runs upstairs. I don't know why that scene, that shot alone makes me, like, I turned to my friend and I said, mi corazón, which means my heart in Spanish, by the way. I was just like, oh, my heart hurts. Oh, no. It's so brutal. And it's such a simple shot of Logan deciding to go after what fleeting moment. And it shows that he still hadn't grown as a character yet, because what little life was left of his old X-Men life in Professor X is upstairs. And but what lies ahead and what could be the future of the X-Men, he's letting get taken away by what destroyed him in the first place. And it's such a beautiful moment. And that entire scene is so rad. And that's how I knew. That's why I knew. I'm like, whenever it's because someone told me that he died at the end, which I could have guessed. I was a little upset when that happened. I definitely punched the guy. I had a ruler, like a meter stick in my hand, and so I started like whacking the guy with it when he told me. Because the guy was like, I walked in the room and my friend was like, I feel bad about my financial situation currently. I said, you didn't see Logan, did you? He's like, no. I'm like, neither did I. And like I'm walking away, and like we're going back to class, or we're going to class, and the guy says, someone told me that he died at the end, and I had a meter stick in my hand, and I walked over to him, I started whacking him with it, and I'm pretty sure I got him in the testicles at least once. I was very upset. I was like,
once is all it takes.
I felt like Wolverine. I was like berserker rage. I was like, and I was like, slice. It was, but anyways. So once X-24 showed up, I said, that's probably how they're gonna kill him. Then they're probably gonna have him like decapitate him or something brutal. But that should we touch on the violence then in Logan and how violent this movie is?
He turns so many people into lasagna. It's
just
so
ground
cool.
beef, just ground beef and red barbecue sauce everywhere. It was. Like, that opening scene, first of all, first line of the movie, fuck, it's nice. It's great.
Such a terrific opening scene. Even when the title shows up on the screen as he's just laying there beaten on the floor.
It's like he gets beaten on the ground, it's like Logan, like, okay, this is what kind of movie it's going to be.
Because this isn't Wolverine anymore, this isn't the superpowered X-Men, and the opening scene does a great job at establishing the limitations of the character. It shows that even though he's, like, the berserker X-Men Wolverine, with enough people, if it only takes 4 guys with like a metal pipe or whatever to bring him down, like ultimately he does win, but he's still like he can still have harm done to it. It takes a while for him to heal. His healing factor's been limited for currently unknown reasons. We learn later on. Yeah. But it's just such a great way to establish the immediate stakes of the character. It's such
great moment. The claw gets stuck. That was perfect.
Oh yeah, and then he has to pull it out with his hand, and of course he cuts his hand and he can't heal properly, and it's terrific stuff.
Just a simple moment of seeing Wolverine like having to put the tape on his hand because he has a scar there. I'm like, wow, that seems such a power thing for Wolverine to have to do, and I think. Yeah, like you can see like the pus coming out of the slits of where the claws were to come out because it's like infected. And you know, it kind of goes back to that moment of, I think it's in the first one where Rogue's like, does it hurt when they come out? And he's like, every time or something like that. And that kind of goes back to going back to how it relates to the first movie. And I think that's why the only connection they make is to the first movie, is because they really wanted to show the kind of beginning and end of these characters. And I think that's, but at the same time, you're right, you know, the opening scene of, it's just this guy, he's no longer Wolverine, it's just Logan, or as he goes by James Howlett again. It's just Logan. And I think that explains why the deaths of both Professor X and Logan are so unceremonious. You know, in a world where Wolverine is no longer healing and his adamantium skeleton is what is actually killing him, of course he gets taken out by having this giant tree stump stabbed through his abdomen, because that can kill him if he can't heal properly, and he's already losing blood and he's already being poisoned, he's already on his last leg. Of course, that's what takes him out in the end. And of course, it's, you know, three slow blades to the heart that kills Professor X, and it's
the closest thing to a heroic death is Caliban, because he even gets the cool last line, "Beware the light." But even that death is not in aid of anything. No, he doesn't take any of the main villains out. He just kind of knocks them over briefly, and then
he gives him
the plot
a
continues.
little bit of time to get away, like, if that, you know.
Yeah,
They can't track him anymore. You know, big whoop.
Yeah,
they find him still.
But the timing of his death in the film is so brilliantly done. I think because it's the next scene when, of course, Charles has just died and Logan has to bury him, and there's that terrific funeral scene where you just have this like where Hugh Jackman's just covered in blood, and he's like, it's probably the best performance of Hugh Jackman's career.
Absolutely.
And this guy is a terrific talent. Obviously he's fully committed to this role for the best part of 20 years, but this is probably the best that he's done dramatically in any film, at least as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there were a few moments in the movie. I kept my cool and I kept my composure pretty much through the entirety of the movie. There was a few moments, of course, when Charles was dying and when he buries Charles was rough, but I pretty much saw that coming, because I saw the first trailer and there's that shot of him with the shovel and he's bleeding and Laura grabs his hand, like, well, they clearly just buried Professor X. But so I handled. You know, it was really terrible having to watch Professor X have seizures. That was not a fun thing to watch, because they don't hide from showing you that he is clearly in a lot of pain and going through some very awful turmoil with that and with those seizures. But it wasn't until the end, and you see Logan's grave, and it's like, oh, you know, classic, you know, cross, almost like Magnificent Seven, like an old Western, you know, do the slow pan up on the grave, and then you see Laura come back, pick it up, and turn it into an X, and then I bawled my goddamn eyes out, because I could not, I thought I got through it, because even that line of, you know, I started getting choked up, like Interstellar style of choked up, and she was like, "Daddy," I was like, because I can't take it. And then he's like, "So this is what this feels like." I was like, oh my god, they're really trying.
That line is amazing, though.
Yeah.
Because it's not just, this is what death feels like. Because in that moment when he's holding her hand, which was foreshadowed in the Wolverine, when when that woman says, "You're holding your heart in your hand."
Yeah.
Because this is what it feels like. This is what fatherhood and this is what unconditional love feels like.
This is what Charles felt when he was able to bring Logan into the X Mansion and kind of give him this new life. You know, there's so many different ways you can interpret that line. Yeah, what a great last line for the Wolverine character to be like, "This is what this feels like," and it's like, and I'm just like, I got it. And then Laura walks in and makes the cross an X, and the tears started flowing. Like, it was like the Hoover Dam just broke. Truly, it was not fun. I was a blubbering mess, and like the credits go to black, and it's just like, and it fades to black, and it's like Logan. I'm just like, and like the credits are rolling, and then Johnny Cash starts playing, and I'm just terrible. I couldn't handle myself. I wasn't ready.
One of my favorite things about Logan is its portrayal of this semi-dystopian future. Like, it's 2029.
That's weird, right? What do you think the future is?
Well, it's not too far from where we are now. It is this corporate-driven. Like, there's Richard E. Grant's character's talking about all the stuff that they've put, like all the chemicals in their energy drinks and their fast food. Like it's kind of implied that that is the main like source of nutrition for people in the future. There's the self-driving vans or the trucks that nearly run over the horses, which is a technology that is actually being rolled out this year in some cities and some states. Self-driving cars. That's a very realistic future. One of the interesting details of the film is that there is some social commentary, like the obvious racial prejudice that's inherent to the X-Men, and there's there's Mexican children running, going past the dystopia that will become America into Canada, which is much better. But there was also like American corporations' like dangerous obsession with corn syrup, because I caught
that line. I was like,
anything.
oh wow.
But like, there's this is just like a very brief history lesson. But like I can't remember which president it was, but they were trying to get rid of unemployment in America, or at least like decrease it. And they were like, okay, well let's prop up the agriculture industry. But wait, we import like nearly all of our produce. Like what do we grow? Oh wait, let's grow a hell of a load of corn. Oh, great stuff. Okay, what do we do with the corn? Because we have so much friggin' corn. Okay, let's put it in syrup and then put it in everything. It's one reason there is a bit of like a weight problem in America, because they put corn syrup in friggin' everything.
A bit.
Yeah, to put it lightly. Yeah, there's corn syrup in everything.
I'm pretty sure I have a bottle of corn syrup in my house that I think about it, that I put on my pancakes, because I don't know very much syrup.
Yeah, they put corn syrup in everything to prop up the agriculture industry, and then and that little moment in the film, because it's like, yeah, this is a very believable future American dystopia.
But there was some of the production design, like most of it felt like an episode of Breaking Bad in terms of the production design. Like I feel like this could have taken place if it wasn't for some of the futuristic cars and some of the technology. This could have easily taken place today, and I think that was done intentionally to kind of ground it and really make it feel like more like a realistic world. Mm-hmm. Man, that's great. And it kind of also has a Children of Men vibe, and where these are kind of some of the first mutants in 25 or so years, and I think it's a great point of they spent all this time trying to take down mutants, and in the end they created just a whole new generation of X-Men. And when the movie ended and I got in my bubbling my mess, and I wiped my face down and calmed myself down and started thinking about it when the credits were rolling, I said, are they setting up new mutants? Is this what the new mutants are going to be? Are they setting up? I thought that's what they were heading for. I was like, but no, because then the timeline would be all messed up, and who would lead them, and who'd be their, you know what I'm saying? I feel like, but if they wanted to, and they wanted to do the follow up to Logan, they could easily do new mutants. I feel like we're gonna see Laura, what's her last name? Is it Laura Keaton? Laura, it's not Laura Linney. That's an actress.
The actress is Daphne Keaton.
Yeah, but what's the character? Laura Kinney. I feel like we're gonna see Laura. Is it Laura Kinney?
I Wikipedia says Logan, not Logan. Laura.
Okay. I feel like it's Laura Kinney, and
I feel like, sure she does have a last name in the film. I just can't. Remember.
Well, I feel like we're gonna see Laura again in terms of the character. I'm not sure if Daphne Keaton's gonna portray her, because I feel like they're gonna jump on the X-23 train pretty soon, and then Daphne Keaton's like what, 13?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know where they're gonna go with that, but what would you give it out of 10, Trilbee?
I'd go for a 9, and the reason I'm not going full on 10 is because I think it can't entirely escape the comic book trappings. Like in the third act, like with X-24, I completely get what X-24 is meant to represent, like the savage aspect of Wolverine that he wants to abandon, and he wants to move on to be like a more sympathetic and more endearing person, and that he's meant to be. Like a representation.
He can't escape his past, that kind of thing. Yeah.
But I feel like I completely get what he's meant to represent. I just don't see why X-24 needed to be the main threat in this particular story.
I will agree with Bandit when I say that X-24 is probably the weakest part of this film. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he makes a ideal physical threat. But when you open the film where 4 normal guys who are just trying to steal the hubcaps off the limo or whatever is able to take him down, I feel like you don't need to entirely go evil genetic clone. I think it works fine with the film. I just think that maybe with this Old Man Logan inspired story, maybe could have gone for a much more personal villain. I don't know. I don't know what I would have done, but that's just something that I think.
Yes, I agree completely. look, I'm also gonna go a 9 because I feel like it does drag a bit in the middle. The Las Vegas bit is nice. It has a nice action sequence. I feel like that's what their buildings were. We haven't even touched on the action sequence in Vegas. It's awesome. It's a load of fun. I feel like it's the only fun bit of the entire movie, you know, because it's granted Charles is in immense pain, and once it gets to that part of the scene, it's a little rough. But to see Wolverine, have to the best part is when the guy can see Wolverine etching his way towards him. You see his eyes, and you're just like, oh, this is not gonna be fun. And you can see the claws stab through some guy's face, and there's a part in the X-Men Origins Wolverine video game, I think it's a cutscene, where Wolverine's tied up, and you think he's he's restrained, and one of the guys and one of the guards is like, hey man, take a picture, he poses it with Wolverine, and before the picture gets taken, you see claws stab through the guy's neck and come out the top of his skull, and I thought that was crazy back then. No, in Logan, you think back of the head and popping through the eyes, you're just like, oh man, it's brutal. It's brutal.
There's probably the best death in that Origins Wolverine game is when he jumps onto the front of a helicopter while it's still airborne. He takes the pilot out, lifts him up in the air so his face gets grinded by the propeller. That's awesome.
They Raiders of the Lost Ark, yes. Oh man, it's beautiful.
But I think what I love about the Las Vegas sequence is the aftermath when he pushes him in the wheelchair to leave the building, and Charles is like, "I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm so sorry." I thought that was a really nice understated moment, and it's like he's fully aware that he's a danger to everyone, and it's one reason why they want to buy a boat and just leave forever, because they hate people.
I love that. I love when Caliban's like, "You want to buy a boat? What do you mean you want to buy a boat?" Because Caliban can't be in the sun. Great moment of at the gas station. And we see a little bit of that in the trailer, but they add more to it, obviously. And when he I know how to do this part myself, Logan. That's great, because they answer that question.
He shows him taking him to the toilet.
That's perfect, and they handle it with such grace and such. They do that the potty, quote unquote potty humor, and they do it quite well. It's like, Logan, I just stop. I have to pee. That probably got the biggest laugh in the theater besides the Spanish bit, followed by the shut the fuck up, which was a great. We haven't touched on this. A lot of swearing in this movie, from the first line, a lot of swearing, a lot of violence. It's the Logan you want to see. But I will agree with you on the 9, and it drags a bit in the middle, and it has some plot stuff, including X-24, that I can't be 100% on board with. But besides that, it is a damn good film. I feel like it's gonna get better with age.
Yeah,
I feel like it's gonna stand the test of time. When people look back in 20 years and see the golden age of comic book movies from 2008 to maybe 2000 mid 2020s, they're gonna look at Logan as as in those top 10 of some of the best there's ever been. I'm certain of it. Yeah.
I also think that we could have maybe had slightly better villains, in terms of the mercenaries with the bionic arms. Which I liked the portrayal of the bionics, because it seemed like something that's not too far off the realm of possibility.
It seemed like a person. It didn't seem like it gave him it seemed like it gave him extra strength or anything like Winter Soldier. It seemed to just kind of be a piece of metal in your hand that would hurt if you hit somebody with it.
Yeah, I think Boyd Holbrook as the leader, Donald Pierce. I think he's a lot of fun. He's a
lot of fun to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the action scene at the end where you had the young kids and they were using their powers, and there's that one with the ice powers, uses it on the arm and then breaks the guy's arm off it. It's awesome.
Ooh, it's brutal. Perfect though.
And then there's that kid with the electric powers, and he's running, and I guess got the Simpsons quotes: "Don't make me run, I'm full of chocolate." That's just what came into my mind. I'm sorry.
That little head, I'm telling you, us blacks can run when we're scared. I'm telling you, Trilbee. We can book it. That's our ancestors right there. Just we can book it when we're terrified.
It's in the trailer for Get Out, but when that guy's running towards the camera, then he just suddenly darts out the way.
Yeah,
imagine if it was that kid. If it was that kid running towards you, I'm full of chocolate.
He kind of looked like Ben from Harry Potter 4 or Harry Potter 3. I don't know if anyone else thought that. I'm like, well, he's a really black kid.
It's Richard E. Grant. He's one of the darkest omens in our world. But this
X-24 could be anywhere.
This was a terrific. I think that Daphne Keene's a star in the making. She's terrific in this film, and I know this is an R-rated film and kids obviously shouldn't see it, but any parents out there, every R-rated film is someone's first. So take your kids, take the kids to see Logan.
I think if your kid is one, like, I know there are some people that won't let their 14-year-olds see R-rated movies, but like, I think it's not a matter of age, it's a matter of what you think your kid can handle. If your kid has sat through something like, if your kid watches a lot of something like, if your kid can watch Law and Order on TV and be okay with like SVU, your kid can watch Logan and be just fine.
Yeah, I think if your kid can handle, say, The Dark Knight, then they could probably maybe handle Logan. Obviously, watch it for yourself and you make the judgment call.
Yeah,
I think if you do have like a daughter, especially, then I don't know, maybe Logan's the film to watch.
Please take your daughter to see Logan. Please take your daughter to see Logan.
Obviously, if they're like 3 years old, don't.
No. From birth. That's the first thing the kid sees.
Right.
Just have Logan playing on the TV in the hospital.
You little Laura, you've just popped out of the womb. We're going to the movies.
Let's take you to see Logan.
Take you to see Logan.
I'll bring a bottle and we're going to go see Logan.
Yep, your first food will be popcorn. Get some butter in it.
It's a baby ball full of butter.
But I'm sure we're going to talk about it in a minute. But something like Kong Skull Island, that is like in the UK, that's a 12A film, which means that if you are under the age of 12, you can take a kid. Like if you're under the age of 12, you can watch it as long as you've got a parent or guardian with you. Kong Skull Island, like if you're under 12, I wouldn't watch it.
Really?
That's dude, that spider.
Yeah, I will. Okay,
that guy got messed up.
Listen, here's what I will say. It does the clever most modern PG-13 movies do. So I think they're taking cues from like classic movies like Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they're showing a lot more blood, but they're doing it in creative ways where like, well, technically you didn't see a guy bleed, so we can keep the PG-13 rating. And we'll jump right into Kong Skull Island here, and we'll go full spoilers because. Okay. You know, we're an hour and a half into this. You know what I'm saying? You know, and listen, here we have half a minute, 30 seconds to give our thoughts. Trilbee, and we'll give it half a minute to give our spoiler-free thoughts. Trilbee, what'd you think?
Okay, I enjoyed Kong Skull Island. I thought it was fun. I thought as giant monster movies go, it was enjoyable, and it takes more cues from, say, like the 1970s low-budget B films like The Land That Time Forgot. Like, not giant monster films, but let's get some actors, get them on an island somewhere, because it's real cheap to make, and we don't need planning, or like, we don't need permits to film on an uncharted island or whatever, so we can make a movie on the cheap. It felt like one of those. It felt weird that I didn't have an emotional attachment to Kong, which is weird, because it's Kong, and that's like the foundation of the character, but I enjoyed it for the most part. Yeah, it's got a few issues. I don't think if you're under the age of 12 you should watch it, because there are some brutal stuff, like which we'll get to in a bit, but I preferred the original 1933 film, and I preferred Peter Jackson's King Kong, but it's kind of tough to compare because they're going for very different things.
What do you give it out of 10?
7. I'm kind of maybe flirting with a 6, but I'm kind of hovering. Okay. I'm hovering on 7 at the moment.
Do you want to go 6.5 and keep it there?
I don't do decimals like that.
Oh, I understand. Trilbee.
Mr. 8.2 out of 10, which means you're essentially doing it out of 100.
You're not the first person to tell me that, Trilbee.
You're not
the first person to be like, so you're just giving it a B then? I'm like, no.
but you're 30 seconds whenever you're ready.
Here's what I will say. It's, and I hate using this word, it's a lot of fun. It's really, director
fun does
really
not equal quality.
I know. The director really finds a way to keep it stylized and keep the pace really flowing, with the exception of some bits in the middle where it drags a tad, but it really is, it's just pure entertainment to watch. You know, you get a large popcorn, you put it in your lap, and you just sit there with your Coke Zero, if you're me, and you just watch the talented actors on screen, and B, the really like mind-boggling as creature designs and the creature effects. By creature effects, I mean the CG, of course. There's not a lot of practical stuff in the movie. And also, I really was impressed with how much respect they gave to the lore that they were trying to build in this universe. Because much like a film like Civil War, Kong is a setup movie. but it's a setup movie that doesn't feel like a setup movie. The only reason this movie exists is that we can have King Kong fight Godzilla in 2 years. But they want to build to that, so they need to make a King Kong movie first, and it's really good. I really dug it. I'm gonna go. I was at a 7.5 yesterday, but the more I think about it, I'm gonna give it an 8. So there you are. I'm at an 8 for Kong Skull Island.
Oh, you landed on a whole number. Congratulations.
Shut. I was at 7.8 yesterday, Trilbee, but now I'm at an 8.
Yeah, I think I saw your Instagram. I remember.
Yeah, right on. I don't know. The movie really impressed me. Let's go into full spoilers. Spoilers. Okay, so here's what I will say. There are a few moments in Kong, and here's why I will say maybe don't take a 12-year-old to see this, or maybe any younger. They flirt with some horror aspects that I think monster movies love to do. That kind of Jurassic Park thing of the suspense. When the lizard creature, the skull crawlers or whatever, which sounds like a smarter name in his head, which is a great moment, I thought. When it eats John Goodman and like his camera's inside, and you can see the flash, like taken straight out of Jaws, but still, it was like flash. I thought it was a brilliant moment of tension. I don't know, and the fact that it happened in kind of the it happened in the graves of what was the original Kong giants, and I don't know why I found Tom Hiddleston with a gas mask and a samurai sword taking out flying CGI bugs to be so badass, but I did. I was like, that's rad, man. That's really cool. And then, the guy's walking, he looks up, and you hear whoosh, and you look like there's this giant piece of bamboo in his mouth. You're just like, oh man, like the natives got him with like a spear, and then like it moves. And you're like, wait a minute, it's a giant spider. And I'm pretty sure I thought like, you know what? I'm gonna go. Because it really, really creeped me. It reminded me of this game I played once, this side-scrolling game. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called Limbo. It's about this kid.
The giant spider.
Yeah, and it's... Because the thing about that game, it's a side-scroller, like black and white side-scroller, where you're trying to solve these puzzles. It's really short, but you're being hunted by this giant spider. And... every time that spider shows up, it comes out of nowhere, pretty much. Like, you'll see, like, what you think is, like, a twig in the background or something, and then you walk near it, and suddenly the twig goes whoosh, and then, like, stabs down at you, and then the spider walks out, and you're just like, no, I'm gonna go the other way. Oh, man. No. But when you finally do take out the giant spider, and, like, you roll around with its body, it's kind of fun. But, yeah, that to me was... I don't know, that the opening scene as well for Kong, where the plane crash and the World War II American and Japanese people are fighting, and then you just see the hand. That to me sold me. I'm like, I'm really into this movie. I was into this movie pretty much every step of the way. This feels to me, it feels very contrasting to what Godzilla was a couple years ago, because Godzilla was kind of this more somber yet still high stake, almost epic in scale to certain parts of this really grand adventure that it's happening, and it's Godzilla. But with this one, it felt more like this kind of dirtier, more gritty yet still is able to be this kind of high energy, faster paced, fun action movie about this gorilla. And I cared about the about the supporting cast, if that makes sense. The supporting characters, to me, I found to be incredibly watchable and incredibly entertaining. Tom Hiddleston was a fine. He was generic white guy number 5, but that's whatever. Brie Larson is always great. Brie Larson was surprisingly good in it. She really... I haven't seen Room, so maybe that's why. But Brie Larson was good in it. Room. I know, it's on my list, Trilbee. Brie Larson's in it, and she's really good as the photographer's anti-war chick. Samuel L. Jackson surprised me in where his character went, and he ended up becoming the villain. I'm like, right on. And then John Goodman, sad to see him go, but he was great in it. John Goodman always great. I love when John Goodman gives people like a nasty stare, by the way. He's the best at giving those stares.
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, I really dug Kong Skull Island. Shelby, I'll let you give your talks.
I see. Don't misunderstand me. I like the film. I enjoyed it as a fun popcorn flick. I just think that, in terms of the horrific moments, I don't think there's anything quite on par with, say, the insect pit from Peter Jackson's version. I think that's a horrific sequence, and nothing in Kong Skull Island quite tops that in terms of just squirming in your seats, wanting to get the hell out of that movie theatre because what you're seeing is so horrific, even though it's a 12A. But I think I enjoyed it like on a sensory level. I just didn't really care about the characters. Apart from John C. Reilly, he is the main non-Kong reason to go and see Kong Skull Island. He was a lot of fun. I enjoyed his arc where he crash lands on the island and he even tries to kill I can't remember the other pilot. And then it's revealed later on that once they realised where they were and the local natives and the ecosystem and Kong having to defend them and all of this, their World War II squabble is insignificant. They decide to be friends and they put their differences aside. I thought that was just a really nice bit of character development for him. And I'm so glad that the movie ends the way it did with his character. I thought there was a really nice ending, and it was a perfect cap for the film, really.
Yeah, and I'm glad he didn't die. I really thought they were building to him dying, but he didn't die. It was great.
If he did die, he would have been the only person who I would have cared. If out of the entire cast, he was the one person who I did not.
See,
die.
I was bummed when John Goodman went out, because the trailers make it seem like John Goodman's going to be the villain of the story, of like, oh, John Goodman tricked everybody and only he knew what was actually going on. He was working with the government to try and capture Kong or whatever. But John Goodman, to me, his story was very much more like Ken Watanabe from Godzilla, where he knows what's going on here and he wants to see what's going on. He wants to go in and document what's going on here. And I was actually quite I was disappointed to see him go, because I feel like I would have loved to have seen an like old and ragged John Goodman character talk with Ken Watanabe from Godzilla, and like they have like they're both like crackpot scientists freak out together.
Yeah. But it's kind of hard to escape the fact that Kong Skull Island it's setting up Godzilla versus King Kong in 2020, but because the film takes place in the early 1970s, this entire cast of characters is going to be insignificant in future films. Like you're not going to see an aged Tom Hiddleston or an aged Brie Larson in Kong vs. Godzilla. Like it kind of feels like they got some pretty generic, or at least like some character archetypes in the script, and they thought, okay, to add legitimacy to this, we'll just get really, really good actors to play these bog standard characters. And like Tom Hiddleston is not the only person who could have played that role, or Brie Larson was the only person who could have played that photographer who was there for reasons. I don't really know why she was there. It feels like they were stunt casting this film because these characters are kind of insignificant. Like when you make a film of like a giant kaiju film, you've got to have some sort of emotional through line. There was a lot of thematically going on. Like in the aftermath of Vietnam, you've got Samuel L. Jackson's character who feels really like disheartened by the result, and that he says that we didn't lose the war, we abandoned it, and now he wants that vindication for everything he's done. So he tries to fight this new fight. He basically just wants to refight Vietnam his own way and have the victory and the outcome that he wanted to have, which I completely get. It just feels like putting that in a King Kong film, it's one of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong. I didn't really care about King Kong as a character either. Like when you get the King Kong from the 30s or in Peter Jackson's version, you do get an emotional attachment to the character. Or like I say character, he's a giant gorilla, but you kind of empathize with him. With Kong,
yeah,
with
to reply with your comparison to the King Kong version, the reason they need you to care about King Kong is because you need to care when he dies in the end, and I think that maybe this movie didn't do that for you, but I feel like this was the movie to kind of give you the setup to say, oh, this is who you're rooting for when he fights Godzilla in 2 years. This is it's a protector versus a protector. It's it is a hero versus a hero. But in the Jackson version, it's a tragedy. You're watching this thing get taken from its homeland and plagued around, and you're good. And if you want my honest opinion, it's a very on the nose tragedy. Peter Jackson, in my opinion, hasn't been good at settle. He's 2002. But I mean, and so when he falls. I think that 90 Watts is still in his hand, right? He falls with 90 Watts in the hand, doesn't he? And it's like, 'twas beauty that killed the beast, and that to me feels very more like classic Hollywood. I'm gonna go back in time, and because in the original King Kong, the stop motion character, he's giving some smiles and stuff, and he's just like, oh look, I'm Kong. Like it's a different kind of Kong. If that makes any sense. They're not
like. To be fair,
And not to mention, he doesn't look like a gorilla in this movie, which is great. He looks like a guy in a suit, which is great on them, because it looks like there's like it looks like. Also, dude, apparently Tobey Kebbell did some motion capture for Kong, which I saw in the end credits, which is really perfect. Yeah, it was like Kong motion capture artist, and it was like Tobey Kebbell. I was like, that's brilliant. I'm glad they gave him more to do. Is that a monkey?
I completely get, it's absolutely fair that the Kong in Kong Skull Island is not meant to be empathized in the same way as previous Kongs. I completely get it. It just feels like there's the scene that takes place in like the Kong family graveyard, basically, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, okay, so King Kong's parents' skeletons are still in this area where the skull crawlers are.
Like, okay. you can tell the skull crawlers like picking off the bones, like things are eating. Like you can clearly tell that like they died there, and things have just kind of been eating them, whatever it was. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but it just kind of feels like, okay, so how does Kong regard this area? Does he go there? Does he know this area exists? It feels like there is a potential, there's a real potential to get a more emotional attachment to Kong by bringing him to that location. And they just don't really do anything with it. It just feels like Kong is a MacGuffin in this story. It feels like almost everyone's a MacGuffin because we kind of have to set up this aspect of the universe because he's going to be fighting Godzilla soon. It feels like the events in the 1970s post-Vietnam of this movie is going to have little to no consequence in a few years' time when we see him team up with Godzilla. It feels like, yeah, the film is fun. I enjoyed it. The action's awesome. The special effects are terrific. But what is the end game here? Maybe when I see King Kong vs. Godzilla, I'm going to look at this film in a whole new light and appreciate it more. But as of right here, right now, I just don't see what the lasting legacy of Kong Skull Island is going to be. I don't really see why I should be invested in these archetypal characters, because they're going to be dead in 2020 when the next film takes place. So, I'm not sure, but... do you get what I mean? Kind of, maybe, sort of.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. I honestly, the only reason I think, that the movie is set that long ago, because I think the original plan was to set it in the 1910s, but the director really wanted to make that kind of 1970s Apocalypse Now-esque production design of the movie, have it set in Vietnam, and kind of have this failed mission of trying to go and map Skull Island, which kind of he said he wanted to kind of mirror the political standpoint on Vietnam. And I can understand where you're coming from, where you say, how am I supposed to, in terms of the investment, because these characters aren't going to be around. I can understand that, and I will say that didn't bother me, because I was really not thinking about that in terms of the future movies. I was more or less focused on what I was getting in front of me. What was being presented in the context of the story of this standalone, of looking as a standalone movie, and I was a fan of what was presented in front of me.
Yeah, we're still as a standalone movie. If, with the exception of John C. Reilly, any of those characters could have died, and I just would have shrugged and moved on. To be honest, I didn't dislike them, and props to Tobey Kebbell, because he's the one who's on his own in the wilderness in the forest, and he does a good job at carrying those scenes.
I could have watched a movie of him, honestly. I can honestly just have watched a movie of Tobey Kebbell trying to survive in the jungle like that.
Yeah,
great, yeah. It was brutal when the way they took him out too. Jesus.
Oh yeah,
brutal.
But it feels like what was I going to say? The actual production, the big screen experience of Kong Skull Island is the main reason to watch the film. The action's terrific. I love how they were completely upfront with Kong. They tease him at the beginning, before the opening credits. And then it's about 20 minutes later we see him properly. Mm-hmm. And I'm so happy that this creative team learnt their lesson from Godzilla. Because I know people say, oh, Godzilla's great because it's like Jaws. It's like, no, it's not like Jaws, because Jaws is not interesting because there's no shark. Jaws is interesting because before the shark shows up properly, there's the power struggle with the mayor and the tourist board. There's these characters
Jaws
who you
doesn't
empathize
have
with
to
and care
be about a shark. Jaws can be about a sea witch, and it could be the same movie. It's not the fact that it's a shark. It's the characters. The reason I like Godzilla is because I'm a fan of slow burns in movies, and I'm down for a slow burn kind of tense. It felt more like a disaster sci-fi film than it did a Godzilla movie. Like a disaster monster movie about these things coming down and this other thing coming in to stop it. And I'm down with seeing more Muto than I was seeing Godzilla. I was completely fine with that. Not to mention that opening 15 and 20 minutes or so. I don't know why. I agree that they probably should make the whole movie with Bryan Cranston, like to quote Cinema Sense. He should have been the Sam Neill of the movie, but he's not, which I'm completely fine with. Because that opening 10-15 minutes is wow. That's a great opening to a movie.
Yeah, I think Kong is a significant improvement on Godzilla, but that's mainly because, at least in my eyes, the bar was set pretty low.
See, I think they're about on par, in my opinion.
Because with Kong, there's a lot of surprisingly brief, like, standalone set pieces, like when Kong fights the octopus. That was a nice small moment. There was the flashbacks to
when Kong went fishing, which was nice.
Kong goes fishing.
I love how he just stops. He's just like, wait a minute, and just grabs his giant squid.
And then once it's dead, he starts sucking it up like a spaghetti.
I'm like, I turned to my friend and I was like, when the ramen's just too damn good.
I also loved the final action set piece. I think that the fight against quote unquote the big one. I thought that was a terrific set piece, really well paced, really well done. I like how even the human characters were contributing, were doing something.
I like the diversity of the action between Godzilla and King Kong they present as well, because with Godzilla, it's like these two it was like Shadow of the Colossus, just like any kind of movement just felt. It was just catastrophic. Someone would punch Godzilla into a building, and the entire building just crumbles to dust immediately. But with Kong, they're both quicker and more agile things. There's back and forth, spinning around, tossing things, flipping over, and getting right back up. That couldn't have happened in Godzilla, which I think is going to be a really great dynamic to how, especially since they said Kong is still growing. Like Kong is kind of
That line's so important in terms of future.
If he's only 100 feet in this version, which is significantly bigger than the last version, he's only 100 feet and he's still growing. Maybe that's why they wanted to set in the past, because they knew he was still growing. But man, you're right. The fights were great.
Yeah, I even liked the not so subtle homage to the original Kong when he's chained up on the floor.
Yeah.
I actually thought that was a nice organic way to get across that Easter egg, or whatever you want to call it.
Trilbee, can we agree that the line "bitch please" was used effectively in this movie?
So
I didn't
remind me, when was that?
It was when Sam Jackson's going crazy at the end, and Tom Hiddleston tries to give him a heart-to-heart, and Sam Jackson's not listening.
Oh yeah.
And then Brie Larson tries to have this cliched moment of, "Listen, look in your heart," and he's like, "Bitch please," and he turns away from her. I was laughing so hard because I'm like, that's exactly what I would have put in my movie too. Because I'm like, why would he listen to her? He doesn't know who she is. Oh man.
Well, I think it's a positive and a negative with the film when at the end when he saves Brie Larson and then puts her down, he doesn't stick around. He is like, whatever, these two humans, whatever, leave him.
He's like listen, he's like the only reason I saved you is because you did something nice with that animal earlier, so I guess I'll leave you alone, human. Anyways, I gotta go patrol my island. Peace. There's no emotional attachment to this character. He just puts her down and then walks off, and that was like a nice subversion of the King Kong story. But it was also okay, if King Kong doesn't care about these guys, I'm glad that me and this giant monkey thing have something in common. Oh, well, yeah. Well, at the same time, Trilbee, Kong is meant to be this kind of enigma. Kong is he's the rule, as John Cena says, he's king around here, and that's great. Because I think. There's this song. It's either Jay-Z or Kanye West, and it's No Church. It's called No Church in the Wild. And one of the opening lines is "What's a king to a god?" And someone got a picture of that, and it has a picture of Godzilla and King Kong. It's like, "What's a king to a god?" And I'm like, that's your title. That's your subtitle. That's your tagline on your poster. That's
just
your
don't play
tagline.
that music in the trailer. Don't have an Assassin's Creed issue here.
No, dude, it's like. Okay, so the title of the movie, it's like, it's like, I don't know, Monster Island, or whatever they're going to call them. The tagline is, "What's a king to a god?" June, bam, summer. Oh,
Yep.
that's a good tagline.
$1 billion worldwide,
Or
guaranteed.
which king will reign? One king shall reign.
One
sick.
king to rule them all.
Yeah, I'm excited because the second Godzilla movie is called Godzilla King of Monsters. Can we talk about the post-credit scene?
Yeah, but I just want to quickly say, you might have seen this on my Facebook, but
Yeah, I just looked at it.
I was the only person to stick around in my 90% full theatre to watch the
Yeah.
post-credit scene. So, I was clearly the only person who thought to stick around because I knew that they were setting stuff up. But near the end of the credits, just after the soundtrack, and you can buy this from Warner Brothers Records or whatever, it said Godzilla, Rodan, King Ghidorah, and Mothra are their trademarks are owned by Toho and this stuff.
Damn.
And I was like, wait a minute, those four haven't appeared in the film.
Yeah.
Are they about to appear? And then there's the post-credit scene, and then there's the cave paintings of those characters. And it was like, what a dick move, whoever
You know what
did
they
those
should have
credits.
done? They should have did what Bloody Guardians did or whatever. And it was like when Howard the Duck shows up and it's like Howard the Duck owned by blah blah blah, and that's the end. Or do like they put the end credit scene and then it fades to black and it's like Godzilla blah 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 blah. All the people be like, those guys will return easily. There, that's
Or
your
do
thing.
a mid-credit scene.
Oh yeah, mid credit scene would have been fine.
Yeah.
Here's
Especially
but
since I was the only person who stuck around.
I say after the credits anyways because I want to see the names and I want to give the people respect that did all this stuff and all these Chinese visual effects artists. And so, but dude, I don't know why I was 5 years old again. That end credit scene got me so. It's been a long time since an end credit scene has got me that excited for a movie.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it might even be something like. Maybe like when Thanos showed up at the Avengers, where I was just like, "What?" And I knew this was happening. I knew this is going to happen. But just to see them being like literally like Sam Jackson style, being like, "There are more monsters in this world." And Kong wasn't the only one. And it's like, and it's just like, it's like Ghidorah, Rodan, and it's like giant Mothra. You're just like, what? And then it's just like Godzilla, and then cut to black. Godzilla roar, King Kong roar.
Yeah,
And I cracked my pants.
Yeah,
I'm
that
pretty sure I
Godzilla
cracked my
roar
pants.
was a really nice touch at the end of the film.
Oh, it was so perfect. It was like majestic how happy I was at that. And the people sitting next to me, this seemed kind of like I was like I was like scared. I was like, oh my god. I was like, yes. I saw it with my friend Cameron, who's a big like Godzilla and whatever fan, and he was talking to me after. He's like he'd already seen it 2 times before that. He's like, this is my 3rd time seeing the movie, man. It's so great. He's a huge movie monster fan, and so he was really happy about it too. He's like, dude, the next one's gonna have Rodan in it, man. They're gonna have Rodan and Ghidorah, dude. I'm like, I'm ready, Cameron. Let's go see it. I'm ready.
Well, I didn't know that Mothra was going to be involved in a future Godzilla film.
Yeah.
So this post-credit scene was actually my first confirmation that this was I'd heard rumors about Rodan and King Ghidorah, but Mothra, that's who I want the big bad.
Well, they
of
hinted at
Godzilla 2
Mothra in the
to go.
2014 version.
See, I don't remember anything about the 2014 one except the last 10 minutes.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
As I go.
I seem to be the only person that enjoys that movie, but whatever. I really dig that movie, and I still dig that movie. I watched it, in fact, probably a month or so ago, and it's still good.
Mm-hmm. Well, it reminds me of obviously it's not a good film, but Dracula Untold.
Yes.
When they were
the game begins.
Yeah, but that initial promise of what that was saying it was going to do, because I don't remember the exact details, but Charles Dance's vampire character or whatever, he says that he wants revenge on the person who originally gave him his powers, which in the film is implied to be the devil. And then I was thinking, okay, so they're going to get Dracula, Mina Harker, Frankenstein's monster, the Bride, Mummy, Wolfman, Creature, Invisible Man, Jekyll and Hyde, everything. They're going to get them to fight the devil? Holy shit!
So awesome.
That was I think was what they were planning to do with the Dracula Untold universe, and that they may even still do that with this Tom Cruise Mummy universe that we're going to see.
No, they all fight
Tom
Cruise. They all fight Tom Cruise.
Oh, Tom Cruise is going to run away, and he will outrun them. The guy's had lots of practice.
You can't catch me, gay thoughts.
And
How
of course,
cool is it that Jekyll and Hyde is just casually in the Mummy? They just did that. They just did that. Jekyll and Hyde's just there, and no one knows yet, do they? None of the regular audience doesn't even know that Jekyll and Hyde's in it yet. They're just like, oh, Russell Crowe. But wait, yeah.
Yes, but let's not forget that because Tom Cruise is Jack Reacher. If he's going to be running away from those monsters, he can never go back.
All right, Trilbee.
So that was really forced.
All right, that ends our Kong talk. All right, buddy. Trilbee, let's get to...
And we can never go back.
No, let's just jump into listener questions.
I still like the film.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
All right, guys, this is the listener question portion of the show, in which case you answer your listener questions.
See, we can never go back and redo that take now. We're living Tom Cruise.
On the Facebook page. Trilbee, do you have a question?
No, you just jumped so quickly into the topic that I'm still loading the Facebook page.
That's fine.
Okay, right, I'm on the thing now, so I've okay. It's okay. Yeah, I'm up for it. Up for a question.
I've got a question, Trilbee?
Yes. Okay. Question comes from Tom Quirk. With reviews of Iron Fist being mostly negative, are you still excited about the Defenders? Now, there was a time this past week where Marvel Netflix's Iron Fist was at 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. That has changed to 14%, which is still not good. I think that's lower than Suicide Squad, and Suicide Squad was... I'm still having therapy sessions with it. So
cinematic syphilis is what you meant to say.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, Suicide Squad. It made me want to become part of a squad. I guess
killed themselves.
I guess I had a random thought. Imagine in the Logan trailer. So, that's it. We're the patsies. We're some kind of Logan.
I love it every time someone puts in the comments, "What are we, some kind of movie mania podcast?"
But as for Tom Quirk's question for Iron Fist and the Defenders and everything, Luke Cage took a lot of the wind out of my sails. Like it's I love Daredevil, I love Jessica Jones, and I like the first few episodes of Luke Cage, and then once like the second half of the series, like the twists and the reveals and the turnarounds and everything happens, it gets really loses steam. Like that series, like I think Daredevil and Jessica Jones could have been 10 episodes, not 13. But then when you have Luke Cage, that could have been 5 episodes, and that's not good. And with the negative reviews of Iron Fist, like I'm still excited for the Defenders, but I'm not gonna be there like I was for Jessica Jones. Like I've got to watch this series as soon as I possibly can. I'm gonna put it on the back seat and prioritize other things like anything. What about you, Trey?
I agree completely. I mean, I don't have much else to add. I'll be honest with you. I'm people, Rotten Tomatoes says you're right. It's not the be all end all of criticism, but it's a consensus for a reason. 14% of people have liked Iron Fist that have seen it, which is not a good Never tell me the odds. It's not a good percentage.
Yeah, but just to clarify, the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, critics were given the first 6 episodes to review, so it could be a reverse Luke Cage where it gets better as it goes along. So there is still hope for the series if you want to cling on to it. But the initial rollout of reviews and PR and everything, it's not a good start, to say the least. So have you got a question now?
Yes, Mark Dunville asks, is there a book you guys like that isn't a movie, but you don't want it to be a movie because they may not do it ever right? I think he's asking, like, if there's a book you love, would you ever want to see them do it, or would you not want them to because you're afraid to do it wrong? And to answer your question, Mr. Dunville, as someone who's a massive Star Wars fan, I have read 2 books that I've not been forced to read for school in the last 2 years. It was The Martian, and it was Lost Stars. I loved The Martian, and I love Lost Stars. Lost Stars is a Star Wars novel written by Claudia Gray, which is essentially Romeo and Juliet in the Star Wars universe, and it's really good. It's one kid's on the Empire, one kid's in the Rebellion, and stuff happens. It's really good. And I think that it also reminds you a lot of X-Men First Class. And I always answer this question whenever someone says, Trey's such a huge Star Wars fan, you want to make movies, what would your Star Wars movie be about? I said, if I was ever able to make a Star Wars movie, it'd be an adaptation of Lost Stars, essentially. It'd be my take on that story. And I really don't want to give much away from that, but I just it's a little bit of a slow burn, but it feels organic, and I can't say that about a lot of other Star Wars stuff, because I've read some comic books and stuff that have felt very generic, kind of, oh, look, we're doing some Star Wars, but Lost Stars does have that feeling of, you can clearly tell that Claudia Gray, A, is a good writer, and B, knows what she's doing in the Star Wars universe. It's a very good book. So what about you, Trilbee?
I don't read nearly as much as I should. And most of the time when I read a book, it is because I discovered it as a film first, like The Martian or Philomena, and I tend to read books after I've watched the film and really want to know the source material. For example, like when I watched Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I watched the film, and I was like, I really want to read the book, so I read the book. And there's a lot of stuff that's lost in translation from book to film because the mediums are so inherently different. I'm not really sure of a book that I just don't think should or could be translated into film. My book library or my back catalogue, whatever, it just isn't. It's not diverse enough to give a proper answer to that. I'm not really sure. I don't really want to give a comic book answer because I feel like anything's on the table now. So I don't really have an answer. Is my answer. Sorry to disappoint. I really don't read as much as I should.
Welcome to modern America. Okay.
Yeah, I ain't got no time for that there fancy books and the paper.
Jack Critchley on Facebook asks, what should be the next R-rated superhero film outside of anything X-Men related? Batman. Batman.
I think that is a potential answer.
You know what? Specifically, give me Nightfall Batman.
I was going to say
not Nightfall. Flashpoint. Whoops. Yeah. Give me Thomas Wayne Batman and make that R-rated. That's all I'm asking.
I was going to say Under the Red Hood, and the main reason it's R is because I just really, really want to see Robin get beat over the head with a crowbar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's probably the main... you can do that and keep it PG-13 though.
You can, but the main reason, like one of the main thematic elements of Under the Red Hood is this guy beat me half to death and then basically killed me, and Batman, you still have let him live. You're still letting him do this to other people, and I think if you are able to put the audience in the shoes of Robin when that happens to him through the extravagant violence, then that can help hit home the point a bit harder. I don't think the rest of the film needs to be brutal and full of blood and guts and gore or lots of F-bombs and swearing, but I think if you're able to capture that sequence and make it really intense and powerful, especially if it's the opening of the film, then I think it could go a long way. Even if it's, say, I think it's established in Suicide Squad that Harley Quinn was either the one who killed the Robin or was at least an accomplice.
Which makes her 45, by the way, if that's how the math is supposed to work. Because if she's been in prison for at least 5-10 years, it's been a while since she's been in prison, and she helped with the killing of Jason Todd, and she had to be a doctor first to get. Point being, she's got to be at least in her approaching her 40s.
But remember, Batman v Superman basically said that Batman's been around for ages, but he's retired. And then once he starts branding people in the street, the newscasters are acting like this has never happened before. So basically, Batman is both retired and is appearing for the very first time in Batman v Superman. So
yeah,
God knows what's happening here. But in terms of R-rated superhero, I think we're both agreed on it being Batman, but I think we've got different stories that we'd want to see adapted.
Okay. Right. I think
unless we do Superman and he punches someone so hard he just becomes a red dust cloud. Because the blood, it's just dust. It's red dust.
Oh, he just has to breathe. It's breathes and then just you see him just become powder because he punched him so hard he became like the goop from Ant-Man.
I think League of Extraordinary Gentlemen could go R-rated, especially if you do have vampiric characters or especially violent people like Jekyll and Hyde. I think that might be a fun approach, but I don't see them.
I just realized something.
What?
Zack Snyder has story credit on Wonder Woman.
Right. Well, it was nice being hyped for Wonder Woman while it was nice. Yeah. Hopefully.
Okay, all right, Trilbee. Let's see what else Zack Snyder has writer credit on. Oh boy, Justice League. Wonder
what
Woman
the hell
3.
is the Owls of Ga'Hoole?
He didn't even write that one.
I just thought that was funny.
300, Sucker Punch, 302, Wonder Woman, and Justice League. Sorry, I didn't mean to knock the sales of everybody. I was excited for that, but man,
I'm just trying to I'm trying to think if there are any Marvel properties, like at least MCU characters that could go R-rated, and I can't really think of any that require the R rating.
Here's my question for you: who do you want to have the first F-bomb in the MCU?
Wouldn't it? Okay. How about Groot? No one's expecting it.
Would be perfect because like something crazy happens. Like he gets Iron Groot the entire movie, and then you just hear, "Fuck," and then it turns and it's Groot. You're just like,
and then it's like, what did you say?
Even if Groot go, oh yeah, it's like fuck. It's like what? I am Groot. What did you say? I'm Groot. And that's perfect.
Well, no, it seems like in the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 trailer, I just realized he's already sworn.
Yeah,
and he didn't say frickin'.
He didn't say frickin'. No, I mean, like you got like Groot would be perfect. That's a good answer, Groot. I was gonna say Captain America because like after all this talk of like language and everything, for Captain America to be like, fuck, like he's just like really tired. Like after he fought like Thanos or something, like they're like they finally defeat Thanos. Everyone's lying on the ground, like almost dead, and Captain America stands up and he's just like, oh fuck.
Can you imagine it being Thor? Fucketh.
I can picture Thor. I can picture any of them going that way. Even like honestly, if I was making the movie, I'd give it to Hawkeye just because Hawkeye deserves something. But because Hawkeye is quickly becoming in my top 5 favorite Avengers because he's just a cranky old dad. But yeah, Groot's the perfect answer to that question. Oh man. Okay, well we're approaching 2 hours here, and I'd like Trilbee to go to bed. Well, so
I answer another question or two if you wanted.
Do you have another question posted?
Yeah. I think I'll be interested to know what your answer to this is. Okay. Dean Jones asks, "What has been your
friend
worst?"
of the show, Dean Jones.
Yes, Sir Dean Jones of Film Brits. He's been knighted. Hashtag Dean Jones for next Doctor. What has been your worst cinema/theatre experience? And he gives his own recent example when he saw The Accountant. He says, the row behind me, where there was a group of what must have been 15-year-olds, kept talking, giggling, kicking the seats and ripping Velcro straps. I nearly walked out of the screening to get a member of staff, but eventually the lady in the row in front of me had enough too and got a member of staff to shut them up after that. Really wish I ranted to them once the film was over. Do you have a really bad movie-going experience? Or?
Well, my thing with annoying moviegoers is that I'm not afraid to turn to somebody and go shush. I'm that guy. There's a great comedian, I forgot his name, but that we were watching I was watching him and he was telling us about how he was watching a movie and he said how people started talking in theater, and one guy, two people got into a screaming match, and like they started swearing at each other, and it was like better than the movie that they were watching. And then one guy goes shh, and like he gives this really funny gesture of like, why would you shush them at this point? And it's perfect. And then I think he had started by saying, and that was when I saw the Lego Movie. Yeah, it was a fun time. But like, I think my worst movie going experience, I can't, because if someone's talking next to me or talking behind me, I'm the guy that will do a full 180 with my body and look them. I'm motioning this as I'm talking in the microphone. I shouldn't be doing this. And I'll look them in the eye, and I'll wait for them to look at me. And then when they look at me in the eye, I will go shh, and then they'll be silent because this big black man, for all they know, has a deep voice and isn't actually 17, is gonna hit them. And so when I saw Split and there was these two teenage girls that refused to stop talking, it was maybe 5 minutes in, and I turned to them and I looked at them and I shook my head like no, and I went shush, and they went shush, and but I think that I shushed a couple next to me when I saw Kong yesterday. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I try my best to shush people. And the only time I won't shush somebody is when it's in a really like a horror movie, like a movie like if it's like Ouija or Lights Out, and people are just making those comments of like, oh god, like those quiet comments themselves, like people are trying to laugh to make the situation feel less tense and terrifying. I won't shush them when it's at that point. But if I'm trying to watch The Revenant and you're an old couple sitting behind me, and I turn around and shush you, and you refuse to stop talking, And you even go as far by saying that young fella's getting annoyed. That is when you are a terrible person. And that was the worst movie experience I've ever had. I told that story in the podcast last year.
Yeah.
Man, that was so awful. God, I was pissed. God. I hope they get like have to wear like diapers now or something. God.
that one really got to you.
Yeah, it really did. Because they knew they were being talkative, and they knew they wanted me to stop talking. I wanted them to stop talking, and they said, and I quote, "That young fella's getting annoyed," and they didn't stop. They kept going. Like, what are you doing?
So I don't know if it is like a cultural thing, but I've not had many like issues like that. I can't really think, at least over the past few years, where there's been a really talkative group or talkative couple in a screening. Like I saw Turbo. I think it was opening weekend.
Jesus, Trilbee.
Yeah, I know. I'm a glutton for punishment. And I think it was just me in the screening and a dad who brought 2 kids along. And it was about 40, 50 minutes in when the kids were clearly bored and they were just running up and down the aisles. They weren't screaming or shouting. They were just running up and down.
Keep in mind, I went and saw Kong at 11 o'clock last night, 11 p.m. There was a row of kids behind me. I'm like, what the what is this? I went and saw Logan, and I saw a 5-year-old being walked into Logan. I'm like, what is this? And of course, when the Deadpool short happens, people immediately start getting walked out of the theater. I'm like, no kidding. What do you think you're watching?
Yeah.
If when you're buying your tickets, there's papers all around. People are like, attention parents, Logan is rated R for 17 only. And I'm just like, people don't know how to do their homework, and people are being idiots and don't understand what the concept of the letter R on a movie poster or on a trailer. When you watch a movie trailer and there's a giant box that says rated R and there's a voice that says rated R, like, what do you expect?
Well, at my local theatre, when Suicide Squad came out, because we've been told, at least I think it was in America, it's PG-13, isn't it? Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
In the UK, it's basically R in the UK. And there was it's 15, but it's basically R. And what happened is that people were getting turned away because they'd seen the trailers before 12A movies or PG-13 movies and thought, oh, because it played in front of this this certificate film, that means it must also be the certificate, because that's how it works here. I don't know if it works there in America either. Like,
no, you'll get an R-rated trailer for a PG-13 movie.
Right, well, in the UK, you can only play 12A or below trailers to accompany a 12A movie.
That's a smart move to avoid confusion, but
they say the following trailers have been rated appropriately for the film that you're about to watch.
Yeah,
that's basically the disclaimer that happens before almost every film.
The grim ban, if you will. Yes.
But with Suicide Squad and Logan, there have been signs outside of screenings saying, no, these films are 15. These are comic book movies, but they are for adults.
Why is Suicide Squad rated 15?
I don't know.
What is that?
Especially when compared to Deadpool, which was also 15. Those two films are night and day in comparison
Batman
to
Superman was 12 then?
It was until it went to Blu-ray, because then the
Ultimate Edition was
quote-unquote
R-rated for some reason.
But for other movie-going experiences, there was... it wasn't like a bad experience, but then me and a group of friends went to see Mad Max Fury Road, and we were like...
that is rated R. I forgot.
Yeah, we were on the second row from the front of the screen, and it's a massive screen, and it's a huge film in terms of scope and spectacle.
This might be a weird thing from you, Charlie, but the bigger the screen is, the closer to the front I like to be.
But see, we were practically looking up at the screen.
Yeah.
So there's no way we're properly watching that film. But so that wasn't a great experience. Although it was really funny because I saw one of my friends who went to see it. She's like the most cutesy poo naive person imaginable. And once the opening set piece of Mad Max Fury Road ended, you know, when it cuts to black, and then he wakes up in the sand. But when it cut to black, everyone was silent, and she just went, "Oh, that was really good," which was really funny.
I'm pretty sure I set the line. That was rad as fuck. At least 8 times during Kong Skull Island, and like I don't. At least 8 times, and there's a row of there's a family sitting like beside us and like in front of us and behind us. I'm just like, that was sick. Oh yeah, that was great. I don't like I think there was a point. I think one of the best lines of the movie is when like you hear like a bird chirping. It's like you'll hear a bird chirping, but it's actually a fucking ant. I think I audibly went awesome. I was like great, great.
last summer, my fiance, then girlfriend, she was working at a movie theater over the summer, and I won't say which one or whatever it was, but by me, staff members at movie theaters have to put up with a lot of shit. There are horror stories of like people two people having sex in a screening, and then a staff member walks in to break it up, and then she gets punched in the face.
My friend told me of how he found a used condom in Rings. Like, he walked in and cleaned the screen of Rings, and he found a used condom in there. I'm like, why do you pay $8 a piece to go and watch Rings, and then just not watch Rings? Anyways,
yeah, and in the movie theater, you got dickhead teenagers who were too young to watch a film, so they hop over the barrier and try and run into the screening and just make life difficult for the staff members. And you get this one's more depressing.
Completely honest, I've done that before. I won't blame you.
You are one of them dickheads.
I've movie hopped and I've walked into R-rated movies and I'm not supposed to. I've done it before. I did it with Logan yesterday. I walked into and I was like, my ride's a half hour away. I'll walk into Logan.
Well, that's different. What I'm describing is that, you don't have ID, you can't go in. Screw it, we're going to run past you, we're going to jump over the barrier, and we're going to go into the screening anyway. We're basically just going to shove the staff members out of the way to get to this film.
No, don't be an asshole about it. Just be discreet. Do you guys have allocated seating? Do you guys have reserved seating where you guys get to choose where you sit?
Yeah, it depends where you go, but it's like 90% of theaters I go to do have assigned seating.
Like, see, most modern day theaters have that, but like most modern day theaters have it to where there's probably a good 15-20 feet between the screen and the first row. So to me, like, especially if I'm like, this is weird, if I'm sitting with the IMAX, I hate to sit in the back because I want to be able to be immersed. I'll sit in the first like 6 rows if I'm watching a movie on IMAX, and I'll just be like, I'll essentially be looking up and being like, and watch like it's a wall. But if it's like a small theater, like at an Alamo Draft House, which is what they have, which we have in Texas, which are smaller theaters, smaller screens, I'll sit towards the back until like I'm watching a giant TV. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, because I saw Gravity in IMAX, and I think I was on maybe the 4th or 5th row.
That's ambitious. That is ambitious, Trilbee.
It was the only seat that was left.
Yeah.
I was too close to the screen to appreciate the IMAX. But then I saw Deadpool in IMAX, and I was like, just like in the middle of the screening, but maybe 2 or 3 rows further back. It was an ideal position. That was a really good experience.
Also, if you don't want to be next to idiots, don't sit in the middle towards the back, because that's where everyone wants to sit. Those are the seats that always fill up first. So if you don't want to be next to idiots in the theater, don't know how to handle themselves, and don't know how to politely eat popcorn, and don't know how to treat the theater like it's not their goddamn living room, maybe don't sit in the middle. Maybe sit where I sit, either in corners. That's where I go.
I do have a story.
Okay.
My fiance is going to hate me because I'm going to drop her in it. But there was one of my favourite films ever is Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Just a scratch, my lord.
It is one of the funniest films I've ever watched. It is amazing. I laugh every time, and it's awesome. And I'd never seen it on the big screen before. And I thought, they're doing some special like anniversary screenings. Like I can watch it on the big screen. I can watch it. I'll take my girlfriend to go watch it because she's never seen it before. About 20 minutes into it, she's like, "Yeah, this is not very good. I don't want to watch this." And I was like, "Well, I've paid for your ticket, so you're sticking around and watching this thing. I'm sticking around and watching it." And then 5 minutes later, I hear this really weird fuzzing, like buzzing sound.
No.
What the hell is that? I turn to my left,
no,
and she's there with headphones in, listening to music. And I'm like, "Get out of here!"
You're still with her, Trilbee. That takes courage. That takes a self-control that I don't have. I would have yanked them out of her ear and threw them on the floor.
Well, it was a quiet screening. There was only maybe 7 or 8 of us like watching it, which is depressing. But I was like, okay, fine, do what you want. Just turn the audio down a bit because it's likely other people can also hear the music.
I can imagine like you're watching Monty Python and you just hear into like modern music. Like I would be.
It was more like death metal. I just heard.
That's amazing. Like trying to listen to the Holy Grail and you just
We're Knights of the Round Table. We dance with the
Hold on. All right. So I was watching Kong yesterday, and there's this couple sitting next to me. You know what might be more annoying than people on their phones are people that make comments on everything in the movie.
Yeah.
or people who I call them the faker detectives is what I think I'm going to call them now. The detectives, those who I think I got from Plumbing the Death Star. Those that when something happens, like when they figure out something's going to happen 30 seconds before, when they have an idea of what's going to happen, they say it out loud. And those are the kind of people that, like, for example, let's say we're watching, in Kong Skull Island. There's a scene in Kong Skull Island, spoilers, where you think Kong defeats a monster, and then a monster gets back up and hits him again. Something's happening, and you hear an audience member, the lady next to me, go, "Oh, it's going to get up and hit him again." And I turned to her and I said, "Please be quiet." And then she gives me the nastiest look, and I'm like, "I'm serious." And then I turn back and start watching the movie, and then she has the audacity, and in a corner of my eye, I see a bright light. I see a bright light coming from this purse, and I see her typing in her phone. And you know what I did? I reached over, looked to my left, and I'm like, "What's she typing over there?" She puts her phone away. I'm like, "I'm sorry, it seemed like it's more important than the movie, so I wanted to know what it is you were looking at." I can't handle not only idiots, but rude idiots. I can't.
They're the worst type of idiots.
Yeah.
No, but I hate people who use a phone in a theatre. I don't care like how low the brightness is. I don't care how quiet it is. When you're in a dark, pitch black room, there's light pollution coming from that phone. It's brighter than you think it is.
Any kind of light source, that's not the screen.
Yeah.
Especially when it fades to black, by the way, and you're the asshole on your phone talking to the guy in Logan. Logan, the ending of Logan happens, and it fades to black, and it's like, Logan, you can just see a guy on his phone. I'm like, you just missed something very important, my friend. You missed a very important moment of modern cinema because you were on your phone. You were on a thing that you're not going to have in 2 years. You're going to get a new fancy piece of plastic you're going to call a cell phone.
Yeah.
All right. You know what, Trilbee? I'm ending it. I'm getting angry.
But basically, the moral of the story is that people are shit, and anyone who says otherwise, you're the ones who are shit.
To quote one of my favorite comedians, look, man, some people suck.
Yeah.
And on that note, thank you all for watching, listening, Movie Mania podcast. Bandit couldn't make it for reasons. Join us next week when we talk about, as we're talking about children. Where can people find you?
You can find me helping Bandit to urinate, like in Logan. That's basically where he is right now. He's like, "Trilbee, help me wee."
You're ready for me to die, aren't you, Trilbee?
What did you do? Where can they find me? You can find me on my website, www.trilbee.com. You can find me on my own podcast, the Film Brits podcast, which you can also support on Patreon, which would be massively appreciated. And you can find my YouTube channels, Mr. TARDIS Reviews, and of course, Trilbee Reviews. Trey, where can the lovely people find you as well?
You can find me right here on my YouTube channel, Podcast Media, also on Instagram and Twitter at Podcast Media. My short film Equation is currently underway. We're still working at it. My lead got the flu over spring break, which is a kick to my balls. But yeah, okay. So I think join us next week. Thank you for the person who made this week's art design. We don't have a name here, but thank you to whoever did make that. We greatly appreciate everything you guys do. If you guys ever want to send in more artwork, never be afraid to. You know how to tweet at us or email us. Yeah, catch you all later on Movie Maniacs.